You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
De'Aaron Fox across midcourt with 5. Left wing handoff to Wembanyama with 2. Takes a 3 that he misses too strong. It's happening, Knicks fans. It's happening. It's been 53 years. But for this moment, it was well worth the wait. A playoff run that'll go down in history. And a team that will live forever. Next stop, the Canyon of Heroes. The New York Knicks are NBA champions.
Delayed offside against Vegas. Here's Taylor Hall breaking in. Hall scores! Taylor Hall! And it's 1-0 Carolina. Now low, it's nudged along. Stankoven stopped by Hart. Then Stankoven tried to center. There comes the Blake and he scores! Jackson Blake makes it 2-0.
From Georgia Southern trying to get Guzman home. He goes for the play. Say, he steals home. Wow.
Gonna keep an eye on him. 39 for Guzman. And this one is all legs.
Deals the 2-2. Bottom swinging. Troy wins for the first time ever in Omaha.
Good morning. Welcome in Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Mayo Medical. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. DB is at team camp this week, so it'll be me and Austin holding things down for you. What's up, Austin? How we doing?
Oh, we're recovering. We're better than we were a day ago.
Just having a Baja Blast over here.
Baja Blast. Yeah, no, it's a good time. I'm just more worried about Rico.
Yeah,
he wasn't trying to climb any flagpoles or light poles or poles of any kind.
Well, we don't know that.
North
for
poles,
certain, but
South poles.
I am surprised.
You boys good.
Okay, good.
Your boy had a great weekend.
Did you get? How did you celebrate, Rico?
I really did. I just sat there in awe. Like as soon as the game ended, and I cried a little bit, and that's about it.
What point did the tears hit?
Honestly, it was when I saw it was like the replay, and I saw Cat like find Mitchell Robinson, and just like the big smile that went across his face, and like he gave him a hug. I was like, he saved your ass.
You mean Cat didn't have a great game?
Cat didn't even play.
Yeah, the last kind of 3 games for Cat weren't necessarily Cat games.
I felt terrible, and there was some writer that just said tradition is old as time. Any Victor Wembanyama foul is actually a Cat foul.
Well, that's accurate though. That's what really happens. Because he's pushing him all the time. When
They're pushing each other. The first hook, I think it was the first one. That one was on Cat. But the other ones, it's like, I mean, you could have left it. It's fine.
So you didn't even have like a celebratory like drink or anything. You didn't get like a little mini bottle of champagne or anything like that. You didn't.
I didn't. I looked through championship gear and might get something.
Nice. Big might, yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna get something. I don't know what yet.
You only have 53 years to the next one, so might as well wait and hold off before these ones.
I'm gonna get something. I just don't know what yet.
I will say it's been very nice on a different discourse to not see all of the articles that came out right away. It's like why the New York Knicks will be the NBA's next dynasty. Because there's been so much parity over the past, what is it now? Like 7 years, eight champions.
8 champions in a
Because I
row.
remember after the Celtics won, that was the big conversation was this is the next dynasty. Get ready to meet like the new face of the league, all that sort of stuff. And because we've had, I mean, the Thunder even last year, that was
I
a
would
big
say
one
more
too.
so, because they're so young.
Yeah.
And even
did they say that when the Bucks won?
So
I don't remember that.
I don't remember it with the Bucks. I do remember it with Denver because that was the Jokic love train started there or like really took off there. You still had Jamal Murray still fairly young. Porter was still fairly young. Jokic relatively young as well at that point. 'Cause that's what 4 years ago now. 23, right? because Warriors were 22. You didn't have that talk with the Warriors because were on the back end of their deal.
No one was like the Warriors next dynasty. They saw a lot of gray in those beards.
Well,
and
they're like,
it's pretty much over here.
They're like, you guys still wasted draft picks on Kuminga, Moody, and James Wiseman, right? Yeah, no, this is your last one.
They made it work.
Was there any type of, maybe not dynasty, but just like multiple championship talk when Bron and the Lakers won it in the bubble? With him and AD?
Light, like, hey, AD's the one now, and if LeBron's the two, then they can maybe make a run out of this. But that ended almost immediately the next year. Like, almost immediately. Because it's Anthony Davis, and that's never going to happen.
I know, like, Knicks fans are not talking. Knicks fans, at least the ones that I'm following, are just like, yeah, great. We have that championship. We're good for a long time. There's no dynasty. There's no, like, we're going to go back to back. It's like, there's people that are like, hey, just re-sign everybody and run it back next year, see what happens.
Which makes it so interesting because the East is tough. But, I mean, when you look at it, you'll have the Pacers that'll probably be your number one competition. The Celtics will be right there, too, because they're actually going to be healthy for the entirety of the season.
Unless they actually trade Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, that's true. I'll ask Sean this when we get
for Giannis.
When we get to him for finals recap and talk and all that. But, I mean, that was one of the more dominant postseason runs we've seen, right? In the NBA, at least in the this new, I guess you want to say, turn of the century, because it feels like they played from behind like 90% of their
so that's
NBA finals, but they were dominant every single time they needed to be.
That's the weird part about this, right? Is they went 15-1 in their last 16. After they sort of figured stuff out against the Hawks, like they were super dominant.
Yeah, thank God they didn't play the Hawks in the final. Jeez.
Oh my gosh, that would have been
more
nightmare fuel.
Would have gone to 7. No, but it was super weird because they had this gaudy record, but I think the number was they're literally behind for 72% of the series.
Yep.
So you're just watching it, and you're like, I feel like they're dominant, but they're winning almost never. Like during the course of the game, they're winning literally only a quarter of the time, and that's basically the fourth quarter. Like the first half of the first quarter and the last half of the fourth quarter. That's the only time that the Knicks had the lead ever. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's just what we're doing here. So it's
not how you start, it's how you finish.
It felt very strange.
Yeah, but maybe they could have started like a little bit better. Is there is that going to be the talk of the offseason? Like, hey guys, let's maybe wake up in the first 8 minutes of every game.
Well, that's what Brunson said after. He's like, the game doesn't start till half an hour later than it's actually supposed to start for us. It's kind of crazy, but
the
game starts at 7:30. We start at 8:30. What?
When did Brunson finally start smiling?
Right away, actually.
Okay.
He was smiling. OG had a little bit of a smile, which is
I didn't know he was capable of that.
I know, it's crazy. It wasn't like his awkward, like, smile.
Well, DB sent us a flurry of topics that we needed to get on. So homework assignments for the day. Do you think is he gonna like grade us? Do you think he'll be like a teacher? He'll be like, I went back and listened just to make sure.
There are 0 ways he's listening live, and even less than 0 ways he's going to go back and listen.
That's true.
I will say, this is unrelated. Can we do something with Brunson's hair? I'm not loving the hair.
You don't like the braids?
I don't mind braids in general. I don't know if it just doesn't look good on him. If it's his, like they're like really skinny.
It's because he got a big old head, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't love it. If you could go back to like his Nova hair, that'd be fine.
I like the braids. It looks weirder when he plays because he has the little headband that holds back the front ones.
Yeah, out in the wild, it's not as bad, but during games, it's not a great look.
Would you rather the Brunson braids or the Clarkson braids?
Clarkson's kind of a different cat. I feel like his hair fits his role where it's just like, I'm kind of a wild card guy, so you don't know what you're going to get here.
He didn't have the headband on. I thought he was going to knock somebody out in the celebration. Those braids are thick.
Whipping that thing.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I do prefer the thicker braid just as a look in general.
Okay. I think that would look weird with Brunson's big old head.
I mean, they don't have to be that big, but like his look like tiny little like ponytails almost.
Yeah, like micro braids.
Yeah, they are micro. I don't like that.
When's your next haircut, Rico?
Yeah, you getting a haircut now?
This Friday.
You didn't jinx it, bud. I'm real proud of you.
Yeah, this is the most impressive run yet.
I really wanted a haircut. I was just sitting here and I was like, I'm really tired of this right now. Like, I need to cut my hair, but I was like, no, they're in the finals. Let's not. I know Austin was like, hey, do you want to take a chance on like if they go up like 3-1 and see if you can break the curse? And I was like, absolutely not. It's only happened one time.
That conversation went either. That conversation, I presented it and you considered it, and I immediately was like, Rico, you shouldn't be even thinking about this.
No, I said no. The other conversation was when you had the mustache, and I was like, should I shave? And then,
that's right. Yeah.
He had the what?
The mustache.
The mustache.
Yeah, you weren't real like mustachy on that one.
You
Huh?
went big moo at the front end.
Moo or muss?
I don't know what we're doing.
Also, since Shane has inserted himself, Shane, were you shotgunning a package of crackers there a minute ago? I wish we would have had a camera on that. I've never seen that before.
No, but it's a trail mix.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense then.
Yeah, if it's like the peanut butter crackers,
that's what I thought it was.
It's a choking hazard.
Can you show Rico just do the action what you did? Yeah. Rico, can you describe what just occurred there?
Well, the skinny bags of trail mix or like sunflower seeds you can get at a gas station. I'm trying to do this for the people listening at home or watching.
Listeners,
So you take that, you rip the little corner off, and then instead of like pouring it straight into your mouth, he's got it turned sideways, as Austin said, like he's shotgunning.
He's shotgunning, yeah.
And he's just tipping back and just tilting all the peanuts into his mouth.
Honestly, it's a good move.
I thought I thought it was crackers at first, so I was more concerned. The trail mix makes much more sense for that move.
It's a good move on the trail mix. Also, I think it's funny that everything is like, he's shotgunning that one.
That's what I thought. Was that not a shotgunning motion?
No, it was.
It might have been.
Probably not how I would have described it.
He didn't cut a hole in the bottom of it though. So
he didn't
not really
punch the hole.
Yeah, it's not a true shotgun.
He used to use the old student IDs, the old UNK ID.
That's a sharp corner on an ID.
No, I think people just got good at it. I don't think that like those IDs were cutting people by any means.
No, they were not. I know a guy who just would poke the middle finger out and just punch it.
I use my tooth.
I use a key.
Yeah, my dentist has definitely noticed.
I use the corner of a table.
They were like, "You have some damage to this canine." Ooh,
oh, crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
I used to bite bottle caps off.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait, what?
Like to
impress people?
No, just like if nobody had a bottle opener.
Oh, mine was to impress people.
Bite the bottle cap off. You gotta do what you do.
And I was like biting the blanket.
No blanket biting.
Blanket survived.
There's not a single blanket in the Alvarez Clay. Not a single.
No blankets were bit during Game 5. I can confidently say that.
Has your son Jalen been born already? Or
good question,
No.
Ravi.
Rachel said she had a dream that I legally changed Miles' middle name to Ogugwa. And I was like, honestly?
I mean,
hey, listen, it's not like he's talking right now. So
yeah, what's he gonna do?
He doesn't even know what his name is.
He's not getting any mail.
And to be fair, he's probably closer to saying Google right now than he ever will be the rest of his life. Like it's not like he's saying Miles.
I'd say he's probably closer to saying Ogugwa than he is to Miles.
Exactly.
So he'd be Miles Ogugwa Alvarez Clary. And I was like, you know what? Miles McBride was not impressive in these finals.
Listen, Moak, it's a great nickname.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can we throw a Brunson in there or a Jalen? Like hyphenate the middle and last name.
I saw some. She's like, don't. I'm thinking about it. I saw somebody who was just like, yeah, I'm gonna name my kid Jalen OG Towns Hart. Well, like just like hyphenating all this. I go, that's too much. You're doing too much. And then I saw somebody say, oh, my daughter when she's born is gonna be real mad when her name is Ann Anobi.
I saw that one. Ann Anobi is a great.
That's elite. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
We'll say the scenes in New York, it just like that has to be one of the coolest. And I understand there's been all the other stuff that's been going on. Like there's obviously crime. Well, they got. I'm notably anti-crime.
They got to make up for the crimes they didn't commit during the playoffs.
That Batman Brunson was in Texas, so he couldn't stop the crime.
Also, can we do on the crime here for a second? Can I keep getting these messages like, oh, New York's burning itself to the ground?
Crime.
Who's sending these messages?
Mostly TK, if I'm being honest. Right. TK sent me so many messages about like TK's.
Well, DB's been sending it to Rico, trying to rile him up the whole time too.
And then
Rico's done a good job not responding. I'm
not letting him ruin my shine.
And then he's like, they need to declare martial law. Let's not pretend like this doesn't happen in every SEC town for a regular season conference game when they beat someone slightly better than they are.
Or 72nd and Dodge when Nebraska ball won the crown. That was big.
Lighting things on fire. They're like poisoning trees. Like this is
do people forget what happened in Philly when they won the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Sorry,
this
just
same
talk on that trail mix again.
Like this is not a New York thing. This is idiot sports fan thing. Like they're gonna light stuff on fire with their
Nobody ate horse crap though, so we got that on Philly.
That we know of.
What was that a thing? Someone was supposed to eat horse crap?
No, someone did.
For the Knicks?
No, for Philly, for when they won the Super Bowl.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, I don't either. You're on a different.
Don't?
Was Philly the one where the police chief had said, like, we've already greased the light pole for a win or a loss? And they were like, we don't care.
Yeah.
They just tore them down. They just like ripped them off.
People found a way to climb them.
Climb the light pole.
Somebody was like on one of the awnings for like, the hotel awnings that are like cloth or whatever it is. Somebody was on that and fell through it. Like I remember the Philly one. It was crazy. And somebody like a police horse like pooped in the ground and the guy just like grabbed it and he was in front of the camera. He's like, and he like took a bite. And I was just like, what are you doing?
That might be the worst thing I've ever heard.
That's horrifying.
I'm like, I guess that's what we do when we win Super Bowls. That's wild.
Yeah, I get that there's a lot of people. I get some of the people are doing some bad stuff. This is like Oxford, Mississippi if they beat Auburn, like this is not
Auburn. Yeah, you said poison the trees.
Bad time to bring a box for. Come on now. They're going through enough.
First team out.
No, now that they're out, I've got something to say about Ole Miss.
I do too.
Oh no.
Those guys suck. All right. Ole Miss fans were the hoity-toityest, hotty-tottiest people I've ever met in my life. I'd go up to them just being like, hey, how far did you come here to travel? Like, where'd you come from? They'd go, I don't have time to talk. Bro, you're in the OBV. Your game's not for 4 more hours. Leave me alone. I'm just trying to do my job. Do yours. They were the worst.
I will say I co-sign on this 100%. Because we both were out, especially on Friday.
Yeah.
Went out. We're trying to talk to people, Last year, did not have these issues at all.
LSU, Arkansas. We had Murray State was there. A lot of fun fan bases that were there last year. A lot of fun
fan bases. I was really this is why I was rooting for Mississippi State to get here. Mm-hmm. Mississippi State, greater fan base, at least in Omaha than Ole Miss.
I feel like the people of Mississippi, Mississippi State is their college.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is definitely the people who traveled here, have Ole Miss gear. I don't know if they're fans.
Ole Miss
I don't know if they're fans.
Is the ones of Mississippi for sure. They're not the people's champ.
Yep. And also,
honestly, Austin, Georgia fans were the same way for me and Bria the other day.
Whoa, Georgia.
Yeah. We were just asking, we're like, hey, you want to call the dogs? Do you want to give us a little and they're just like,
watch those videos. All right. Bria went up and she just said, will you bark for me? Those are two different things.
No. Okay. We did that after we finally got somebody to call the dogs. We went through 10 fans in head to toe Georgia gear. I can't do that here. There's not enough fans. There's not enough people. Yeah. I'm like, if you have to ask a Nebraska fan in the middle of Iowa to yell "Go Big Red," guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna yell it.
Yeah.
No, honestly, you probably don't even have to tell them. They'll just be yelling it, and you'll be like, "Oh, what? There's Nebraska."
Yeah. So I know what you're talking about, but for our podcast listeners, so every single year we try to get the rally cries of everyone, so that way people know. So last year we did Oregon State, LSU, all that, all that stuff. So I go up to this group of Georgia fans, which you ended up talking to, I believe, on Saturday or Friday or whenever it was. And I asked them, I was like, "Hey, will you call the dogs?" And they were like, "Oh, we don't really have any rally cries or anything." And I was like, bitch, I know you do. I've seen it.
Don't lie.
Yeah, and I was just like, you must not be a Georgia fan. He goes, well, I drove up from whatever. And I was like, what do you mean? I know what your chant is. I just want you to do it for me. And then he was like, well, then he hit me with that excuse. He's like, we just don't have enough people around here to do it. I was like, all right, man, whatever. I don't need to hear that from you.
We found some dude at Rocco's and he was just like, I told him, I was like, we've asked 10 people and nobody's done it. He goes, where are they? I'm taking their gear. They're not real fans. He goes, give me a second. He went inside Rocco's and came out with 20 people. I was like, do you know these people? He goes, no, but they're Georgia fans. So let's go. And then 2 other people walk by and they're like, those guys, have them do it. So we had 2 guys outside of Rocco's do the chant and then the group inside continue it. And I'm just like, there you go. That's a fan.
Now, we'll say West Virginia fans have been phenomenal.
They've been great.
I've loved West Virginia fans. Would love to see them come back here.
Great Troy fans.
Great Troy fans. Troy fans have been fun.
Yeah.
The Texas fans I have met have been very, very kind to me. I have not had much issue with Texas fans.
I haven't seen a ton of Texas fans. It might be the times I was there, but
yeah. I keep bringing up 1 second and they keep dunking on me. I can't let them win. You can't let the terrorists win when it comes to Texas fans.
So I will say part of my experience with Ole Miss may have been tainted because I kept asking them what they felt about Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, good use of taint.
Well, I thought they needed a space to vent, you know?
Yes.
I was trying
and
to
then they got mad at you, didn't they?
Yeah, and then I was like, what am I doing here? What did I do? And so I think I started off on the wrong foot. I don't know if they've got like an Ole Miss social network or something that they got the word out like, hey, the guy in the Hurrdat jersey is asking
No, wait. Those guys couldn't spell Facebook if you gave them the book because they can't read. I hate Ole Miss fans. They're on my top of the list of just fans that I can no longer stand. Like, I'm glad Lane got out of there because that place is terrible. He can go do yoga in Baton Rouge for all I care.
You know what? Lane might have been right about Oxford.
You know what the other thing? You know what the other thing about Ole Miss fans was? You know what the other thing was? Here's the other part. All those like males from like 40 to 70, they all look the same. I swear to God, I talked to like the same group like over and over and over again. Like
all the males from like 18 to 40 also look the same.
That is true.
There's only 2 different guys in Oxford, Mississippi. There's the young guy and then the old guy.
Yeah.
That's it. They all look the same. And there's from 18 to 40, all that changes is the weight a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then from 40
a lot of baby blue and Sperry's.
Well, also they carry
all the haircut. Everybody's got the same haircut.
Yeah. Yep.
Every person in Mississippi has the same haircut.
They all wear their weight like they're all like kind of pregnant and bloated at the same time. This is the Oxford males. Let me be clear. Like they all got like a little bit more of the pooch in the front. So it's tough.
I feel like they all walk the same too.
Yeah. A little bit of wobble.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a wobble.
Yep.
There's a little bit of a wobble. It's
again, I'm saying this like I will put as much dirt on this grave as I want to because they were terrible.
They were.
I just did not like them.
Genuinely not great to deal with. It was.
You know what?
Sorry for our Ole Miss listeners. I know you're not coming back anytime soon.
No, you're fine because we talked to some LSU fans and they were saying like Ole Miss fans were the worst. So.
Okay, perfect. That's all I wanted to know.
You know the like 25 LSU fans that come up here regardless. Love them.
Yeah, I do think there's a reputation with Ole Miss amongst the SEC of them being a little pretentious. And I have to wonder, like, what are you pretentious about, Ole Miss?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is their, like, what are they hanging their hat on?
Like, you know, we do have so many national championships.
This is our holier than thou stance. It's wait a second, that's an empty trophy case. What's happened? Like, I don't.
Yeah, even we have more trophies than they do.
We do.
It's crazy.
I mean, we got
a big
Pinnacle
game chain.
Award. We got a big game chain. We got best employers in sports. I mean. I think Ole Miss just has the one. It's the College World Series title from 2022. But
I mean, that was like centuries ago, though.
It's
who's counting that?
I mean, it's just not even who's buying that. It's just a fan base that is completely unnecessarily pretentious, and I'm not here for it. I need you to have a little fun. You're at the College World Series. You got Jello shots. You're in Baseball Village. You're here to have a good time.
Yeah.
And all they're just like, no, I can't talk to you.
I know. Yeah. They're just not about the fun. I even heard one of them complaining about like beer prices. And I was like, come on, brother. Like, you know where you are.
Yeah.
You can go get a beer literally anywhere. It's not going to be that. It's not that bad.
Yeah. It's like,
have you talked to the West Virginia fans?
West Virginia fans have been good.
Great.
They're pretty fun.
The Oklahoma fans have been fine. I don't really have like
I haven't had
they've been pretty neutral if I'm going to be honest. Like I don't really have like a heavy opinion on them.
West Virginia fans seem thrilled to death to be here.
Yeah.
Like they just seemed absolutely over the moon that they're here.
Yep.
They got some nice gear.
I've had no issue with Georgia fans, so I don't know where your beef came with them. Probably just trying to get grown men to bark at you. That's probably the biggest problem.
You have to approach that a little differently.
Yeah. I wasn't the one asking the grown men to bark. Brio was.
Hey, bark for me.
It's a little different.
She didn't say that. I kept telling her, I was like, you got to just say it like that. She goes,
I can't.
She's like, I can't. I just can't. She's like, I got a question. Can you bark for me? And I'm just like, you're asking too nice. You got to demand it.
Yeah.
You got to be a little forceful. They'll do it. I guarantee you they will.
And Bria's great. I really like Bria. She's great for like our team. You know, when she comes in to help out the helicopter
she's
mom
like parachutes
CWS,
in, yeah,
pretty much.
She's the Hurrdat Sports paratrooper.
She's a Parabria. She's just coming on down.
Yeah. She ran into one of her friends from high school who apparently is like one of the best tight ends in the country at K-State.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't we talk to him? And she's like, yeah, it's fine.
Bria's also really funny because I told her, I was like, oh, I got to leave Saturday to go to a wedding in Fort Calhoun. And she's like, oh, I can't stand those guys. Fort Calhoun?
The only person in the country with an axe to grind on Fort Calhoun.
She goes, we had a huge rivalry in high school cross country.
High school?
I love that. I love that.
And I was like, oh, well, I mean, I was trying to rattle my brain. I was like, Fort Calhoun? Who's Fort Calhoun's rival? And I just finally asked her, I was like, are you from like Blair or something? She goes, no, Columbus SCOTUS. Columbus SCOTUS?
And you're just like, you know what? That makes sense.
Beef with the town with no stoplights. Like, where'd that come from? Was this the Crusades? You're just going through town by town? Like, the hell?
Yeah, that
famous tried to bring religion.
Fort Calhoun cross-country rivalry.
Yep. The Shamrocks versus the Pioneers.
Columbus SCOTUS was trying to bring religion to those heathens.
Yeah. Those Pioneers. How dare they?
Shamrocks versus Pioneers. It's the Battle of the Whites.
The Texas fans I've run into have been amazing. During the big rainstorm, we had a couple of them come into the tent and we're just hanging out. And I was talking to this mom and she...
A Saturday morning?
Yes. I think Saturday afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she was telling us about like all of her neighbors who include Zach Martin, one of the guys from Dude Perfect.
Cappy sorry, Rico. Cappy wanted to make sure that they do have a stoplight.
Whoa. We have a stoplight.
That's got to be Cappy's first comment in the show ever.
That's part of why
He's been waiting.
That's part of why I was laughing, because I was like, I've never either this is his very first time listening to the show, and he's just hearing. He's like, whoa, how did Fort Calhoun get astray here? Or he's just been lurking for months,
just waiting for our Fort Calhoun mention.
That's me before. Man, me what I do.
That's wonderful.
Incredible stuff, Cappy. We're happy to have you here. And
anyway, she was talking about her famous neighbors and was just telling us this Texas mom who they're in town for a baseball tournament, and she's like, oh yeah, you know, Zach Martin used to live next to us, and one of the guys from Dude Perfect, and like all this stuff, and she just kept naming like celebrities and like former athletes. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And after she left, I turned to, I think it was CR. And I was like, man, she must live in a bougie ass neighborhood. My goodness.
Oh, for sure. As soon as you say an NFL player's name, it's like, oh, so you got like money.
Yeah.
Money. You ain't got like normal people money. You got like NFL money.
Yeah.
Which is like good for her, you know?
She said one of her friends' coworkers owns a box in AT&T Stadium. And they were trying to get him to sell it. Or no, he had to give it up for the World Cup. And then they were like, you can keep the box for $1.2 million. And she was like, yeah, he paid it. He wanted to keep it. I was like, does he even like soccer? And she's like, I think so.
That's crazy.
That's not the right answer for $1.2 million.
I was like, oh, so you got money.
So the
favorite thing in the world.
The Texas fans that I talked to when I asked them on the first day if there was a second left in the Big 12 championship game, they came back to the booth. They were like, are we going viral yet? And I showed them the video because we posted it from Hail Varsity. And all of the comments are like, oh, great. Texas fans can't count to one. That's great. Good for them. And they thought it was the funniest thing. And they had told me, they were like, when we beat the brakes off of Georgia, we're coming back here. We're taking you out. We're partying. And I was like, okay, man, I'll be here. That didn't happen. Wonder where they are.
Yeah, the Texas fans have been okay. I haven't run into a lot of them. I've run into basically zero Oklahoma fans.
Nah, they've been more there. See, that's the other problem. The tailgating is so different this year.
Yeah.
Did you wander out? Have you ventured out yet? I know you've been in OBV quite a bit, but you haven't been out in the tailgate lots or anything?
I have not yet, no.
Tailgate lots are super odd this year.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt like LSU, Arkansas, like you just see conglomerates of like red and purple and like all the other kind of school colors, except UCLA. I mean, they were just nowhere to be found last year. But this year, like, it's the traditional ones. It's the Omaha people who host for kind of the other schools. There's some of like the traditional Husker ones and people who are CWS regulars. I don't see a lot of the team tents. Maybe I'm not like in the right spots, but Man, I'll tell you what. Like I've done my I'm walking every single which way, and I haven't seen a whole lot of like non-West Virginia, and even them, they're just like kind of different little pockets of fans. So yeah, it's a little bit different than past years.
I was told you have to walk a decent ways away from the stadium to find some of the team ones. They're like they're not in that main parking lot for whatever reason.
They're all in lot D, like all the way out the corner. Yeah. I went through there, and there was, and I guess this was Friday. West Virginia was playing at the time, so I saw like their stuff out, but didn't see them. But I still didn't even see like any of whatever that Friday matchup was. That was North Carolina Ole Miss, right?
Yes. I'm wondering if
those aren't tailgate schools.
Because we've got they're going out to eat somewhere. You know, they're getting a nice.
They need some wine and cheese.
I'm wondering though if we've got two teams first time ever being here in Troy and West Virginia. Georgia's been since 2008. Bama's been since 99. Who else do we have here? Yeah, I think Oklahoma's been a hot minute, I believe, as well. I think maybe there's just a lack of familiarity with the setup because a lot of those teams,
that's fair. Yeah.
Like a lot of those last time they were here, if they were here at all, was Rosenblatt.
Yeah, good point.
So I think there might be like Mississippi State. They've been up here a bunch. LSU's obviously up here a bunch. Like the teams that are here all the time, I think maybe they have a better lay of the land and know how to operate. That might be the problem here.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you're more the CWS regular than I am. I've only done 2 of these.
Also, Ole Miss sucks, so that's part.
I'm glad we're all in agreement on that at least. And I also have no beef with North Carolina, mostly because they haven't given me any reason to beef. So
I don't either. Yeah, I don't have a problem with North Carolina.
Except somebody told me on the very first day that if I just shouted tar at fans, that people would chant heels back to me. I was like, that just can't be true. I tested it. It did work.
Did it?
Yeah, I just saw a couple go by and I was like, tar. And they were like, heels.
Like, who said that?
Yeah.
It's the voice of God.
Like when you chime in from the other room, it's like, where Austin come from?
Yeah. Just,
no, the that sounds like somebody trolling you. I'm glad
that's what I said.
I'm glad that it worked.
Yeah.
Because every once in a while, you know, you get some of those, it's like, yeah, it's not really a thing. But it was apparently.
And it was also these are all so funny to me sometimes, just like these different interactions that we get, because I was outside of Rocco's trying to grab some West Virginia fans on the first day. And it was after they had won, so they were kind of in a good mood and whatnot. And this little league team that was playing some summer series here tapped me on the shoulder, and they're like, "Can we be interviewed? Can we be interviewed?" And there's like 7 or 8 kids, and I was like, "All right, it's fine." So we're talking to them a couple questions or whatever, and I asked them, I was like, "Hey, what do you guys know about Nebraska? Like, do you like college football, whatever?" And this one kid goes, "I'm Bryce Williams' cousin." What? I was like, "Oh, so you must be a Husker fan?" And he just goes, "Not really."
What a hater.
Yeah. And I felt kind of bad because I was like grilling this kid. I was like, tell me more about Bryce Williams. Like,
this is the only thing we care about.
Yeah. I feel like you just looked one up, like one Nebraska person. You're like, Bryce Williams. But then why would you pick Bryce Williams of all people? I don't know.
No. I'm Trey Taylor's cousin. That would have gone.
That would have worked. Yeah.
That'd have gone further.
Yeah.
Bryce Matthews?
Any of them.
Big Bryce Matthews guy.
Yeah. Which Bryce? There's another Bryce Williams coming in.
How many Bryces are there? Yeah,
McKEWON?
Good point.
There's too many Bryce McKEWON. There's so many Bryces.
There's so many Bryces. Yeah. Whoa. I was like, okay, man.
I'm Bryce's cousin. Bryce who? I don't know.
Yeah. I can't help you, man.
That'd be like saying in New York in 10 years, I'm Jalen's cousin. It's like, which one, man? There's gonna be about a
dude, those attendance sheets are gonna be like Jalen, Carl, Jalen, Ogugwa, and they're gonna look up and be like, "That's a white kid."
What about you're missing all the Tonys? Come on, all the Tonys that are gonna get born.
All the Tonys.
That was the
McKells
clip. And Kolek is just like, got an A in the group project, man.
We run New York.
I wanted him to hit like a dagger 3 at the end of that game just so I could tweet at Ant and be like, I was so right.
If they would have brought Tyler Kolek in, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah.
I would have lost my mind. It would have been great, though.
Yeah, they would have had to play better before the last 4 minutes of the game for them to bring Tyler Kolek in ever.
Right.
Nah.
They
wonder how many Mitchells there's going to be.
Tyler Kolek, because then they probably would have came out a little bit hotter.
You're right. They should have.
If you're going to start crappy anyway, you might as well have Kolek in there,
right. Adjust everyone's plus minus a little bit.
I would say there's going to be a lot of Jose's, but there's already a lot of Jose's.
It's going to be like some Alvarado middle names.
Yeah, probably.
Alvarez.
It's gonna be.
My kids think that we're related.
Do you think any of our listeners will name their kids Rico after you after this championship?
I hope so.
That'd be cool.
I hope that I've grown on some people and they're like, you know what? I want my kid to be like Rico. Don't do that. Actually, that's terrible. Don't do that.
Don't name your kid Rico.
I don't like that. That's OG in the post game.
The birth, like if they invite you.
Yeah,
that would rock.
Yeah, I if anybody names their kid Rico, like I will show up and bless the child. Wear like a robe.
A waiting room, Dad. I don't need to be in the room for that.
Espiritu Santi.
Ding.
I did like in the champagne showers they were doing in the locker room when Chalamet got in there. The Knicks are chanting Lisan Al-Gaib at Chalamet and then spraying him with champagne.
They asked him afterwards. He's like, my eyes are burning. I don't have goggles.
Did you see that like Ben Stiller got to like take pictures with the trophy?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, he's making a documentary. Like he has 2 phones. That's why all these like recordings.
And Safdie recorded or directed the Nike commercial. That's
it's wild,
incredible,
unbelievable. I wish my goal is just to be famous enough that whenever my team wins a championship, whichever team, that they're like, yeah, you can hold the trophy.
It ain't gonna be Florida State.
No, it would be.
We're not flying this guy from Omaha.
Ideally, Nebraska. That would be nice.
Ideally,
if Nebraska won a title, or
Matt Rule's just like, Ravi, get up here.
That'd be incredible.
I don't think he's calling Ravi.
I'd be like, oh my God.
On this show, I don't think Rule's calling Ravi first. Something tells me it ain't him.
Honestly, I want to be first. I'm on the list.
How far down that list do you think you're?
As long as I'm on the list.
Have you had dinner yet with him?
Not yet.
It's not happening.
I do think I was given a date.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
a date. I
think it's happening.
Nice.
Imagine he just does it to be
this type of date, or is this like
I don't know. I haven't clarified yet.
A bro hangout?
I haven't. We'll figure it out.
Imagine he does it just to be petty towards Damon. Like, Robbie, get up here.
That actually does sound like
actually very funny.
That actually does sound like something he would do.
That'd be very. That would.
Damon's just like, what I do?
Could you imagine the CFP? You're like at the Peach Bowl.
There's a picture of Robbie.
Anything is possible.
Damon's got to be in the booth. He's got to be watching it happen.
You hear him around the air. What the hell?
You know how mad he would be.
Well, he'd be going, Jess, do not talk to him. Jess, do not.
And then Jess would immediately interview me out of spite.
Jess would be like, we're down here with a fan.
I would love to hear Kyle Chris call that. Oh, now with the championship trophy, Ravi Lulla.
The Hurrdat Sports Live.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's a dream. It'd be even better if right after that you hand the trophy to like TK.
For no reason.
Just Headley's out there. Here you go, bud.
This one's for Ravi.
TK would be the first you'd hand it to.
I don't know. Out of our chat.
Well, he'd be putting cuffs on someone, so his hands would be tied up. You know,
he doesn't do the actual arresting.
I like to think he does.
He's not a cop.
Judge TK.
Just some innocent person in the front row who didn't even say anything. He's like, you. He's just like, you're gonna be a problem.
Oh man,
he saves the streets from future criminals.
There you go. Yeah.
That's good stuff there. I did want to mention changing gears here a little bit.
Wow, geez, already.
Well, we got to set the lineup, and got Sam McKEWON coming up.
DB's not here to hurt you. You know, you're fine.
You just never know.
Yeah,
you never know where he is. He's always watching.
He doesn't have a link, so he can't. He can't call in from the heavens.
Sam McKEWON.
I emailed it to him.
Oh no.
Sam McKEWON will be here from the Omaha World Herald at 8. Then we'll have Sean DEVENEY from Heavy.com at 9 to talk a little NBA. And we will get there. We will get the thoughts on the Knicks championship. What's next for both the Knicks and the Spurs? I think that's an interesting, and honestly, the maybe the most interesting one is what's next for Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
because they are better than almost everybody else in the league, but have this problem against San Antonio. San Antonio obviously has some issues of their own. So we'll get into that with Sean coming down the line here. Before we take our first break, I just did want to acknowledge, and a couple people brought up in the chat here, longtime Nebraska assistant coach George Darlington passed away this weekend as well. So our thoughts go out to his family and everybody associated with the program that knew George. If you ever had the privilege to be in a press box for a Nebraska game, you're very familiar with George. He was the only one who the quiet in the press box rule did not apply to, which was always fun. And I kind of appreciated his commentary during the games as well. So rest easy to George there. He was the only assistant that was there for the entire Tom Osborne tenure, and actually was there for 5 years with Frank Solich as well before moving on to some other jobs and then retiring in 2010. So rest easy to George. Appreciate all of his contributions to the university and to the great state of Nebraska. So that is our little shout out to George Darlington as he passed away this weekend. All right, let's take a quick break. We will be back. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up right after this.
We used to drive, he's a left-hander, so we knew that he had a chance to pitch. We used to beg him to bat left-handed, but he was always batting right-handed. And if you know Cal, he does everything else right-handed but pitch. So it's kind of odd. We would drive to Omaha from the time he was 9, once a week in the summer to go to UVA. And Bill Olson was his mentor. And we did that for, until he graduated high school. And we would call Bill and tell him how he did every night, and come back to UVA and work with Bill for an hour. And Cal hit the weights, and his pitching coach at Iowa Western went to Western Kentucky with him. And him and his pitching coach are really tight. Now his pitching coach, Max, is a unique guy. He used to be a pro pitching coach for the Mariners. So he's learned a lot. And I just watch. I don't say anything anymore. So.
Yeah, so I was born in Grand Island, Nebraska, and then moved to Papillion, and that's where I graduated high school, Papillion La Vista. My mother still lives in Omaha. Lots of relatives in the surrounding area, so I'm as Nebraskan as you can come.
How many games have you watched here at Memorial Stadium?
Wow, what a great question. It's north of 20. We're probably pushing 30 or 40, definitely.
What does this moment mean to you, standing on the field at Memorial and knowing that you'll be coaching here?
Yeah, it's special. I'm taking this every single second to just try to stay present, because there's so many memories, there's so many emotional memories here and attachments. And so I helped build this field, and it got knocked down on Wednesday because of the storm, and we were out here bright and early in the morning making it perfect for Nebraska. So the attention to detail was at a higher level than I normally bring, but it's special to bring banana ball to Nebraska.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Male Medical. That's Austin. I'm Ravi.
Almost got you.
I did. I almost said DB. You know, I was on a little bit of auto programming there. Don't worry, we got it. We steered out of the skid. We're good to go.
I appreciate that. You know, it's no longer Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill though, so you haven't gotten that one in a while.
I know. I haven't.
I think you've made the full automated switch to HQ.
I think so. There is every once in a while I think about it, but my default is Hurrdat Sports HQ now, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's only taken 4 months. It's
pretty good.
Not terrible.
We have been here for a while.
We have been here for a minute. We love our new studio.
Yeah,
I feel like we need to put some different jerseys up now, though.
Yeah, I think it's time for the Mellow jersey.
Although, unless we have another Team USA jersey, maybe we keep it through the World Cup.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's probably Pulisic.
Yeah, we could get Andy.
I'm gonna say I don't have one. Do you have one?
Andy's got a Christian Pulisic jersey that we could put up there. He was wearing it on Friday.
Yeah, that was a good time
when we were out at the bar.
I enjoyed watching that with you guys. That was a lot of fun. I don't know if you could tell, but I was like, I wasn't trying to find a way out of the invite, but I was like, I just don't think it's going to happen for me.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Fiance just spent too much time not getting back to me. So I was like, you know what? As long as I'm waiting for her to get back to me, then I will go watch this game with you guys.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. We stayed for the first half, and that's all we needed to see.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was at the end of a very long day for both of us, which I'm not going to complain about because our jobs are awesome. But, you know, you have some long days in there. And so we went over to a local establishment known for showing men's soccer games and stuff, especially Team USA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest, so I like soccer quite a bit. I don't football.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a decent amount of like Premier League stuff. I try and watch as much Team USA as I can. And I was like genuinely really impressed with their performance.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were shocked, all three of us, from the very beginning on how well that they were playing. And Andy's the bigger soccer head of all of us.
Yes,
and he was very impressed.
He is the most soccer pilled of the entire group. Him and his friend Javi, which it was cool to hang out with.
We had Javi and Ravi, and they sat across from each other.
Yeah, it was very confusing for everyone involved. It was like, wait, what's happening here? You really got to enunciate that first letter. But I was super impressed. I was trying to think back because I sort of had a realization yesterday as I was thinking about how I wanted to talk about the game, the match, excuse me.
Wow.
Don't worry. I will say 0 instead of 0.
This guy doesn't know football.
But I was thinking about how I want to talk about this. And it was really interesting to me because I sort of I'm generally a pretty positive person in my fandom, but I did realize as I was sort of digesting what happened and why it felt so surprising to me is Team USA does disappoint quite a bit in terms of what I feel like their talent level is versus their results against lesser opponents.
Mm-hmm.
And it did give me a little bit of a glimpse into some of the more pessimistic parts of the Nebraska fan base where I'm like, I kind of get why you would feel that way. Now, I felt that way with the men's national team, and I still kind of believe they'll figure it out, they'll turn it around. But there's a sense of that. I was like, oh, if this is how you feel all the time, I get how you would be more pessimistic about things. And I thought that was interesting. But I was trying to think back of
where did that start for you?
Which part?
Just the thought process of the duality of the pessimism of fans.
So I was trying to figure out because I genuinely think this might have been the best men's national team performance I've ever watched. Now, I don't remember 94.
So by best, you mean
most complete, best performance.
So a dominant performance.
Yeah, where they came out, they not only met expectations because they were expected to win this game. So that's part of it too, is match. They were expected to win against Paraguay, but they also... So they met that. It wasn't just a 1-0 where they kind of got a lucky goal or, maybe got fortunate with a penalty call or something like that put them in a good position. They met the expectations. They got the win, and then they dominated in a sense that has put them in they had tons of scoring opportunities they didn't even capitalize on, right? Where you're like, I wish they'd get a better look. But
they probably could have been up like 5-0 in like that first half.
Yeah, they had a ton of really good scoring. Some of them better than the opportunities they actually scored on.
You know what's funny? Just on your point about the pessimism, like even at our table, you and me, we were talking about some stuff, and they scored the first like 10 minutes or something like that.
It was pretty quick.
And they had another opportunity a couple of moments later where the first touch got off. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm like super knowledgeable on all like the soccer terms and, all that sort of stuff.
But it was a great ball. The guy was open and just a heavy first touch, and the ball got away and Paraguay got it back.
I almost said Nebraska, but Team USA was still up 1-0 in the match in the first half, in the opening 15 minutes before we even hit a hydration break or anything. And you could tell the vibe of our table, at least. And I kind of felt like the people that were around us, everyone was like, oh, we really needed that. Like it felt like, oh, man. But then once they got 2, and especially that third, that kind of pressure relieved. But yeah, it definitely was that more. We couldn't even celebrate that we were ahead or that we had.
And still finding attacking opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that for me is a lot of the disappointment around Team USA men's soccer has been opportunities that get squandered, right? Both in the micro sense of attacking opportunities like that, and in the macro sense of, hey, we feel like we've got a really good squad here, and then they don't live up to potential, right? I think that sort of peaked with the World Cup that they missed a couple cycles ago, where they didn't qualify for, right? Or there was also, I think in the most recent qualifying, I get my years mixed up sometimes. Happens when you get old.
Are you talking about like the Trinidad loss?
Yeah, the Trinidad and Tobago loss, where you're just like, that's a team the U.S. should never lose to. Basically,
you can lose to Trinidad, but you can't lose to Trinidad and Tobago. You can't lose to both.
Well, they had 2 teams. It wasn't
I know
fair.
that's not fair.
No, but it's one of those things where you go like, you have these really perplexing results, and then you feel like the U.S. is at a point where they should never miss a World Cup, basically ever. I firmly believe this is the most talented U.S. national team roster that we've ever had. You have more guys playing in first-rate European leagues than we've ever had before.
And it's also what people have told us about the team, too. It's not our own belief or anything like that. It is what almost Team USA has also pushed out as well, being like, this is the golden generation. This is one of the best generations of soccer the United States has ever seen.
And I think part of it, too, and we do this a lot with, like, phenoms or prodigies, is a lot of these guys became familiar with them super young. And then after 3 or 4 or 5 years, you're like, oh, well, I guess they weren't really that. And it's like, no, they're still super young, right? There was, like, how long have we known Christian Pulisic's name? Like, it's been a decade at that point, and he's still like 28, right? So there's this entire group of super young guys. Somebody reminded me of that with I think it was the Qatar World Cup in 2022, where this entire team was like under 24. It was basically, how I think in a lot of the Olympics, they'll do like the U21 teams and stuff from the bigger countries. And you go, well, I mean, that's basically what the U.S. rolled out there for the World Cup last time. And so it makes sense that
we put out our next up team.
Basically, it was like our next gen team, but it's all we had. Or is the best version of what we had at the time. And then there's also been all the managing turnover and frustration and stuff like that. It felt like the U.S. couldn't get a first-class manager from anywhere else in the world. And you're just like, we're doing the Bob Bradley thing, and what are we doing here? And then you get this guy who's Pochettino, who's got this reputation from overseas as a first-rate manager and coach, and you see, but there's still, even with him, there's some drawbacks of like, okay, does his style work in certain formats? And he's, super aggressive attacking style. Like, is that, I actually think it's better set up for tournament play than it is for like a long league season. And it's just a culmination of a bunch of those things, though, whether it's the management, the roster, the missing the World Cup, the disappointing results. And so you go into that and you're up 1-0. There you go, guys.
Bang.
And you have this opportunity to get squandered. And I think my thought was why it felt tense in there was because, okay, if you're the U.S. and you have opportunities and you're up by 1 and you can't get that extra, then you're putting yourself in a position to have a stupid tie that you're going to lose 2 points in your group on a game that you dominated because you couldn't put an extra one away. And that turned out not to be the case at all. You had great goal scoring opportunities, across the entire match. You only really had one defensive hiccup where Paraguay got their goal, but I was super impressed. And this all started. Yeah, that's kind of why I started thinking about this. This all started because I was thinking about what was the next best performance I had seen from the U.S. men's national team. And I think is sort of a deep cut. I think the next best one, they played Brazil in a Confederates Cup in like 2009.
Oh, wow. That is a really deep cut.
And they were up 2-0 at half on Brazil. And that was still like peak Brazil, right? And Brazil ended up coming back and winning 3-2. But like in that first half, especially, I was like, that was Clint Dempsey and Landon Donovan, I think, had the 2 goals in that match. And you go, holy crap, like this team, and you don't think you're better than Brazil, but you're like, we can hang with Brazil?
Right.
That was kind of, and it wasn't even the whole match, right? Like you knew Brazil was going to kind of be putting a hard rush on, and you're like, let's hope they can hold on. But even in that one, they had opportunities to go up and get that extra third goal where you're like, maybe like that third goal, maybe you get far enough distance away from somebody that you can hold on to this thing, and they weren't able to do it. But that's sort of where I started thinking about this. And I was like, okay, if my next best performance was that long ago and it was a loss, then I sort of understand some of the pessimism about where we get here, why there's tension when it's up one, when you're up by 1 early and can't tack on that second goal on a great scoring opportunity. And I think the other part of it is we're not used to having that many attacking opportunities either. Like the U.S. typically, this is broad generalization here, the place that the U.S. has struggled the most, I think, on the international stage is they don't have elite like goal scorers, right? They don't have elite offensive creators. And so to have the opportunity where you've got multiple guys, whether it's like Badunga got the 2 goals, Pulisic was a great creator. Yeah, Gio Reyna late. Like you had a lot of guys that were creative. Tillman did really well when he moved over to the left side for when Pulisic came out. Like you had a bunch of guys that you're like, oh, we have guys that can actually create opportunities. We don't have to luck our way into this in a way that it feels like the offense could be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, and it wasn't heavily reliant on like set pieces or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like they weren't, trying to set everything from the corner or try to get everything 100%. Off of a free or a penalty kick or anything like that. Like these were genuine transition. They were good crossers. They were good attacks, and they had many wide open opportunities against. I mean, I know DB had some stats on like Paraguay and everything like that, but they're tied for the top of their group right now in terms of the point differential. I mean,
and they're in really good shape.
Yeah, and like. That's what you needed to start. And if you were going to get off hot, that was the main concern. But again, everything you bring up with the pessimism and everybody's negativity towards a team and a program that's like this, there were plenty of people who went into that match who were rooting for USA saying, well, if it doesn't go well, I kind of expected this anyway because they've disappointed us before. And truthfully, it hadn't looked great coming into it either. I didn't think that they were going to be performing as well as they looked. And man, if they can pull out 2 more matches of this in group play the way that they looked, the sky is truly the limit for them. I mean, it really is.
Well, and the reason I don't think I'm just, and then we'll take a break here and get to Sam. The reason I don't think I'm just, like U.S. pilled here is you heard in the post-match commentary, Thierry Henry and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, 2 like absolute superstars from years past on the international stage and on European club teams, where they each, I thought, were even more glowing about the U.S. performance than I was. They were like, holy cow, like this, if the U.S. plays like this, they can make a deep run in the World Cup, which is not really something I've ever heard non-American commentators ever say about this team. Even when, I think their best results, the round of 16, even when they were like, hey, yeah, they really just need to, their goal needs to be to get out of group play. That's always the goal for the U.S. is just get out of group play. If you get to the knockout stage in the World Cup, that's basically a win for U.S. men's national soccer team. And to hear them be like, if they play like that, they'll make a deep run. That was just a totally different way that non-Americans have talked about U.S. soccer in my entire lifetime, if I remember right. Like I said, I've watched every World Cup since '98, basically, and I try and watch as much of the international stuff outside of the World Cups as I can for the U.S. nobody ever talks about the U.S. like that. And so it kind of like does make me justified. And I was like, I really do think that's the best U.S. men's national team performance I've ever seen, which is, I mean, hey, good time for it.
What a great problem to have. What a great problem to have.
If they get one more win, they've got a really good opportunity to get out of the group anyway, but one more win I think would essentially clinch it, especially because Australia is the next match on Friday, and they're the other team that has 3 points right now. So that would basically get it done for the U.S. So good stuff there. Love the performance from the men's national team.
Also, chanting USA at a bar, one of the most elite experiences.
Incredible. And I found out is we were in the wrong part of the bar too. I guess the other part was even like rowdier.
Oh.
So maybe we'll have to,
that's tough.
We can revisit on Friday. Maybe.
There's a lot of other things happening around the world in our country and stuff, but there is something unique about just being like Busch Light drinking, Team USA chanting people.
You get a goal and you just like, USA. It's incredible. The vibes were incredible.
But you never be the last person to. You don't want to be the last person on USA. Always end early.
Yeah, you always got to end one early. We had to teach you that lesson.
Well, I hit it. I was right the first time. The second time, I went a little too far, and I was like, damn it.
You were like the cranberries. You were lingering. We'll be right back. We've got Sam McKEWON coming up next.
We call them the buckskins, and that has to do with a lot of the clothing, which would traditionally be made out of deerskin, buck for buckskins. So the deerskin leather would be the outfit. We have the rifle here, which has a long heritage of makers and the history of the Mountaineers firing them off whenever we have touchdowns, home runs, whenever we have things to celebrate, we get to fire off this gun. Now, we also have plenty of gadgets that are covered in history. All these kinds of tools might be used. We have our powder horn that we typically use to store powder in whenever we're getting the gun to go off, and this has been carved in a wonderful place and passed down from mountaineer to mountaineer. We have the possibles bag from the days of hunting that carries anything we could possibly need. All of our goodies, anything we need for the rifle, sunscreen, hand sanitizer, all of that goes in the bag. We have a belt, which we also get to customize. Mine says "My Home Among the Hills." It's a song out of Clarksburg, West Virginia, that I've sang since I was a kid. The guy who wrote it owned a store in Clarksburg that's still open today. It's more than 100 years old. We have belt buckles we get to choose. This is a 1969 graduation gift from a family friend, and all the way down to the boots. Every bit of us is covered in history, and it's an amazing opportunity to be part of this culture and to represent West Virginia so well. We have so much to celebrate.
This is immaculate. We haven't started yet. Like, we haven't got to the game yet. Look at this crowd. Look at the energy. I've always been told Husker fans are legit. They love their sports. Guess what I'm ready to do tonight? Throw the bones. I'm ready to throw the bones tonight, buddy. I'm so excited. I'm so bumped up.
We talked about this a year ago. How surreal is it to see this happen in Nebraska?
You know, I believe in everything happens for a reason. And that's exactly what Banana Ball is. We're spreading so much joy and positivity that a lot of these people are going through things. But out here, you don't worry about anything. All you worry about is having fun. And, you know, we start at 2:30, we get done at 9, and then we do stuff afterwards. So it's a full day of fun, you know. And what's great is our prices are only $60 for the most expensive seat. So it's affordable for families. And, you know, if they hadn't been able to experience it, hopefully they get to, because it's great on TV, but you feel this energy. It's like a concert you always wanted to go to, and you finally get to go to it, and you're just living your best life. Hey, Nebraska! Go Big Red! Let's go!
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Male Medical. That's awesome. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. We are joined now by Sam McKEWON from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, how are we doing this morning?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, we are doing great. It's been a weirdly busy kind of week and weekend in June for sports here. What's been getting your attention?
Oh, a bunch of different things. It's going to be busy this week too.
Yeah.
You know, volleyball phone calls start today, and in the sport of volleyball, the commits usually follow pretty quickly. So you're probably going to see Nebraska volleyball pick up a commit or two this week, and it could be 3. You just never know. But I would anticipate that being the case because the 2028 class, when they get the phone calls, they usually commit pretty quick. In terms of everything that's just been going on around here, obviously the College World Series is interesting. It's kind of held true to form up to this point. I think the best, game so far was Troy beating Ole Miss yesterday, and it's kind of cool to see a team like that come up here and really, I mean, they can rake, they can hit. They hit against West Virginia. They hit against Ole Miss pitching. I like that. Sometimes when these upstart teams come here, they might win a game or two, but they win them like 2-1 or 3-2. And they had a great pitcher, and that pitcher was able to do something. And so I kind of like the fact that Troy is able to knock it around the park a little bit, and that was fun yesterday. Clearly, tonight's game between Georgia and Oklahoma is going to be a big one because the winner of that game is very much in the driver's seat. I would favor Georgia going into tonight, but Oklahoma's hot. Oklahoma's playing its tail off. I mean, they have been really since they beat Georgia Tech a couple times. So you've never exactly know how that's all gonna play out. Nebraska football did what I think most people have expected them to do in June with getting the commits that they're getting. Jalen Hill's going to announce tomorrow. I think there's a good chance that Nebraska gets that one. And then I think they could get 1 or 2 offensive linemen this week. And I think it was Rivals talking to either Kyler Kuhn or Barrett Cottrell about Jeep Wade wanting to create a class that this is like his class. And that makes sense because by the time he got here, the class was pretty much done. There wasn't much he could do. So that this is kind of his first group, and thus it's going to be really large. And if they were to get 6 guys in the class, that's a lot of offensive linemen that you have to develop, and takes time to develop. Like, that's not a 1-year project. So it'll be interesting to see if Nebraska takes 6 guys in that class. Again, maybe one of those guys would play in 27, but I don't think it would be like 4 or 5. So I think that would be an intriguing kind of reset on that side of the ball. And then, we'll see. Baseball's added some guys, but I think everybody kind of knew once they had the season they were going to have some success in the portal. And softball's just begun. I mean, they'll add many. They got a player that's going to help them on the mound and with her bat. They're going to end up adding, 4, 5, 6 players to that roster because they lost so much production in that senior class.
Sam, let's start with the College World Series. There, you mentioned obviously how hot Oklahoma is, and things mostly staying to form. Besides that, I'll be honest, I was a little surprised at how dominant Oklahoma was over Alabama over the weekend in their opener. And I thought that Georgia Tech, that Saturday game, those Saturday games in general, I thought the Texas Georgia game was going to be a little closer than that as well. I thought those were probably two of the, 3 or 4 best teams here in Omaha. To see Georgia take care of business like that, now all of a sudden you've got a pretty marquee elimination game today too with that Alabama-Texas one.
For sure. Texas, obviously had a disastrous first inning, and anytime you give up 4 runs in a CWS first inning, your shoulders slump a little bit. And I thought Texas chased a lot. They struggled against that pitcher who's got a funky motion, and you've got to try to work through that. But he was hitting the spots, and Texas's pitcher was not. And so that was easily the worst game they'd played all year. And I think they knew it. And I don't know if they'll rebound much today. I mean, that's probably going to be a battle with Alabama. It'll be very close and competitive. And so, I think both teams are going to have a hard time now that they've lost as decidedly as they have. I think they're going to have a hard time coming back and climbing all the way back. So
you think
Georgia's,
it's harder,
go ahead.
You think it's harder with Texas emotionally when they've got, you've got a pitcher like Volantis, who's one of the best pitchers in the country. And then when you lose a game when that guy's going, especially in that fashion, like emotionally, you think that's tougher than kind of losing in some other ways?
Yes, I do. And he wasn't good. That late night game, everybody's kind of in a hurry because there's some people that are still on deadlines. Yeah. And so nobody was going to spend a lot of time digging into his struggles. But I mean, he was terrible. He was not good. And you can't look at the runs that he gave up or the hits. The reality is he struggled so much with his command that he really didn't give Georgia that much to hit. Mm-hmm. He hit 4 guys. He threw, he got a couple strikeouts that were wild pitches. Again, if you're really like people are like, well, he only gave up this many earned runs, and yeah, that's true, but he was nowhere near where he needed to be. Like, you cannot go into a CWS game with that level of command. But nobody's going to knock the kid. He battled. He threw 111 pitches. You really have to give him credit for how hard he worked. Yeah. But he was not good. And so the defense behind him wasn't great. But the catcher was all over the place all night. When your catcher is having a move like that, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So some of that was on Volantis. I mean, that was on him that he didn't pitch very well. But then, they just didn't. They were not locked in. And, Georgia is a very good team. And if that game had gotten a little loose, in other words, if all of a sudden Texas had started scoring, I think you would have seen Georgia do the exact same thing. That's part of what happens sometimes is you're trying to get through the innings and get your pitcher back out there and get rolling. And I think Georgia took some chances, but we'll see what happens tonight. Georgia's got an incredible lineup, incredible power. I think the wind will be somewhat favorable tonight. So I actually expect a reasonably high scoring game, 8-5, something like that.
Sam, was there anything from last night's West Virginia, North Carolina game that made you maybe take more notice on maybe this not being an SEC final, or just continuing to kind of feel where some of the pre-tournament thoughts were, where it was going to be very SEC heavy just throughout the entirety, maybe even into the final?
No, it's not good. It's not going to be an all SEC final. That's for sure. Obviously, North Carolina is going to probably be your team over the weekend. It's going to be hard, I think, for Troy to have the pitching to make it all the way through this deal. And it wouldn't surprise me if they take it to West Virginia tomorrow. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I think Troy's a good team and obviously it's got the bats going. The park must fit their eye. So I think West Virginia's, carpet ride is either going to extend an extra game or it's going to end tomorrow. But North Carolina's going to be, I think, that team in the finals. And then it's possible that some team can come out of the losers bracket on the other side. I think Alabama and Texas are both very good teams and have more than one good pitcher. But I would be surprised. I think it'll be Georgia or Oklahoma, and probably Georgia. North Carolina's a very good team. And they were good all season long. They took care of business against everybody they played. So it will not be surprising if they are there. And then it becomes, can they handle the pressure of winning? Like they haven't done it. So like they're going to get there and they're going to start thinking about the same things that seems like Arkansas thought about. Like you got to overcome that. You got to get over the hump. Florida State, once you get there, you got to handle the pressure of being there, and we'll see how they do with it.
We're talking with Sam McKEWON from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, I want to move on to kind of the Nebraska recruiting you were talking about there. I do find this class kind of fascinating, right? Because it appears as though they're building in a way that most Nebraska fans would be able to get behind or get excited about. You mentioned you might be taking 6 offensive linemen. Obviously, they've got 3 D linemen plus an edge rusher in this class as well. So it looks like you're really shoring up the trenches there. Have you felt like that has translated to the level of excitement you would expect, especially considering when you've got a 5-star quarterback in that class as well? Or do you think it's been a little bit more muted than it typically would be?
Well, historically, balanced against history, it's muted because people don't look at high school recruiting the same way they did.
Sure.
This is obviously a lot more momentum than they had last year, and it feels like more momentum than they had even the year before. And the class they had the year before was a good class. I mean, it was. I think it's going to end up being chock full of very good players who are high level contributors at Nebraska. I do think that one of the things they're trying really hard to do in this class is they're trying to mitigate to some degree the amount of money that you have to pour into the offensive and defensive lines through the portal. And if you're able to get guys in your program and then put them through development, and then on the other end of it, 2 or 3 years down the line, you've got starters. Well, then you have saved yourself some investment money that can go to other things. There are certain positions that I think it's very hard to project, and you can't guarantee that you're going to get exactly what you want. One of those is pass rusher, and Nebraska's pass rushing recruiting has been okay. Now, I am encouraged by the fact that the guy that they got is a guy that Minnesota wanted, because Minnesota's recruiting in pass rushers has been good. That said, that's a very challenging position to recruit, and there aren't a ton of kids in Nebraska that fit that. You either have to take some of these kids who are playing tight end and say, hey, when you turn 14, I want you to, be a tight end, but also I really want you to focus on what it looks like to play the other side of the ball. And so there's a lot of good tight ends in the state of Nebraska. They're not bad pass rushers, but a lot of them aren't pass rushers. They're just not. And so, those guys got to be developed then. If you bring them in and then you flip them to the other side of the ball, that's fine, but it's going to take them some time. So there are positions down the road where you don't want to have to project it. I think the excitement around Trey Taylor is pretty good. I think everybody has an understanding of how good he is. And however good people think he is, he's actually probably better than that. He's really good. Like, I don't say it lightly. Like, for whatever reason, rivals didn't make him a 5-star quarterback. I can't get inside the evaluators' heads, but he's probably the best quarterback in the class. Now, I understand there's the guy that's going to Alabama is the number 1 ranked guy. That's probably because of his measurables. I don't think anybody who watched him throw and watched Trey Taylor throw out at the Elite 11 really thinks he's a better passer at this point. And that's what matters. What matters is your ability, so long as you're tall enough, which Trey is. So long as you're tall enough, what matters is your ability to pass the ball accurately. It isn't, do you stand 6'4" and 235 and stand tall in the pocket? That's not the game anymore. The game today is, can you throw the ball 35 times a game and complete 27 of them or 28 of them? Can you make off-platform plays? Can you get out of the pocket? Not necessarily just to scramble, but to scramble and throw. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Can you do those things? And the truth is, Trey Taylor's as good as anybody in the 27 class at doing all the things that I just mentioned. And he's accurate. And he's got a pretty good deep ball, right? So there's some people that fall in total love with, oh boy, is this guy got a good deep ball? The guy that just transferred from Florida to Baylor. He's got a good deep ball. He does. Lagway.
That's about it.
But he can't consistently complete passes. Like that's just not a strength of his. And so he'll be a 58% passer, and he'll hit some big ones. That's kind of like that quarterback that was at Oklahoma and Auburn. Jackson Arnold's a little bit like that.
Oh, yeah.
But Trey's got the ability to be accurate, and his motion's repeatable, and it's quick. And all the things that you want a quarterback to be, he is. And some of those things Dylan Raiola was not. He still isn't. And so however good people think Trey is, he's actually better than that. This is a really, really good player. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. Like I've never jumped all over Nebraska quarterback commits just because they're coming here. They've had some guys that have been rough around the edges over the years for sure. But Trey is actually very polished and a good one.
Okay, so I want to go back to the tight end versus pass rusher thing you were talking about a minute ago, because for a long time it's a little strange how many like power conference level tight ends come out of the state of Nebraska, considering our population.
Yeah, I mean, especially over the past 4 years. I mean, you look post-COVID, it's been numerous 4 and even a couple 5s.
Yeah, yes. Like it's an unreal amount of and so it's funny because normally when we're like, Nebraska doesn't really produce this type of person or this type of prospect, it's usually a physical profile thing a lot of the times. Obviously, that's not the case because tight ends and defensive ends, for the most part, have similar athletic profiles. And so I do find it kind of fascinating when you bring up, because you're right, Nebraska doesn't really produce a high-level edge rushers. And I don't really understand why, if it's just hey, I'd rather be on the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side of the ball. Because like I said, from a physical profile standpoint, there's been a bunch of guys that seemingly would have been able to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that the player who is an elite pass rusher, the athletic profile may be a notch above an elite tight end with few exceptions, right? So, like there are some exceptions to the rule that I just said there. But for example, even though Keona Davis is kind of an interior player, I think Keona is a talented player. I think he has a lot of talent, and we'll see if Miami's able to unlock it. I think Keona Davis is a better athlete than Luke Lindenmeyer. And I'm not knocking Luke when I say that. I think Keona Davis is a high ceiling player. I'm not trying to knock Luke. Luke's a very good athlete. But I think it just takes a little bit extra on that other side of the ball. Now, if Luke had been playing pass rusher for 5 or 6 years, he'd probably be darn good. But it just takes time to learn the skill set, and it's not easy. And there's some guys that are better just playing on offense than they are on defense. Like, for example, I don't know that Thomas Fedoni could go over to the other side of the ball and be, TJ Watt or something, or JJ Watt. TJ Watt's not that tall. But, that component, I think, is a little bit different. And then I think a lot of, in high school, it's just hard to get guys that do a lot of that. Now, all that said, I do think that at times college teams have fallen a little bit in love with, we want to get a pass rusher, he needs to be 6'7" and whatever. And that's not true. The best one in college football last year was Reuben Bain, and I don't know how tall he really is. But he's probably 6'1" or whatever he is. Best pass rusher in the NFL is probably Nick Bonito. Well, it's not. It's obviously Garrett, but Nick Bonito is probably the second best pass rusher in the NFL. And so on the one side you have Myles Garrett, he's 6'6" and 290, and then on the other side you have Nick Bonito, and I don't know what he is, 6'1.5", 6'2", 235, and there's a lot of players like that I think college teams need to embrace more. Now, on Nebraska's team, that's going to be a Willis McGahee. And Willis McGahee was actually a pass rusher in high school.
Yeah, pretty good skill set there.
He was. That's what he did well. He played on the defensive line. Then they kind of moved him around, and they were going to make him a spinner, what we call a jack linebacker now, but what Bo used to call a spinner. And that's all fine. I'm happy that he's down by the line of scrimmage again, and he can kind of battle down there. Jordan Ochoa. Can he be that kind of guy on the edge? You don't have to be 6'6". It's great if you're Randy Gregory. Certainly he's the most gifted pass rusher that Nebraska's had, but you don't have to be that size. And so I do think one of the things that all college teams need to embrace is, hey, if we got a guy that's 6'2" or 6'2.5", and he's on the edge, and maybe he isn't the tallest guy in the world, but he's a butt kicker, and he shoves the tackle back into the quarterback. Who was the guy last year from Michigan. Derek Moore, how tall was he? He wasn't that tall.
Oh yeah, no, I like 6'1" maybe.
Yeah, so like that guy haunted Nebraska's dreams. So I think there's got to be an embrace of that. And when it trickles down to the high school level, then I think all of a sudden you can start talking about, okay, this guy is 6'2" and he's 215. We're not going to make him an off the ball guy. We're going to develop him as an on the ball guy. And whether that translates to the NFL or not, I don't know. But as I think back through the mental Rolodex of guys that have wrecked Nebraska's dreams, there is a Chase Young, right, in 2019. But I think of Nick Benito in 2021 down at OU. And I think of Derek Moore last year. I mean, there's a lot of guys in there that aren't too tall. And I think Nebraska's got to find a way to develop that skill set. Get guys that maybe play high school football in Nebraska and maybe don't necessarily project to a, Myles Garrett sized player, but can get the job done. And, Iowa's done a nice job of that. I mean, Iowa's got some guys that are 6'5" too, but Iowa's done a nice job of getting mid-level 3 stars and developing those guys into really good pass rushers.
Sam, it does. This conversation just reminds me so much of what kind of that initial recruitment was like under Rule in his first 2 years, because it was all about the physical profiles. It was about, track stats and trying to find those hidden gems and then developing them into great football players. But I don't remember it necessarily being a part of the offensive and defensive line, and kind of marrying what you talked a little bit before with Jeep Wade and the development with the offensive line, the recruits that he'd gotten. Do you feel like that there's been maybe that change with Wade now being a part of the Rule recruitment style, that athleticism is such a big part of what they're looking for moving forward, especially on the offensive line?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm not an offensive line coach, so I think each one of them have a little bit different evaluations, but my sense of Jeep Wade is that he wants guys that can move. And I'm sure he's looking at measurables. At the same time, I think they want linemen who are movers, guys who can get out on a screen and run and are athletic. Yeah, I think that's important. There are football minds who know more than me about the distinctions between what Greg Austin was looking for and what he was trying to develop. And again, I think Greg Austin was a good coach. And I think they were looking more for, okay, we want really big guys who are powerful, who can, mass and hold guys at the line of scrimmage and not let them get off and make plays. And so you had a Lutovsky, who was one of Austin's favorites. Mm-hmm. And Lutovsky was good. Lutovsky's also a huge human being and probably not the mover mm-hmm. that a Paul Mubanga is going to be. And so, and then you had, Donovan Raiola come in, and it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what he wanted, but I think he wanted straight line strength, and he wanted guys that could move other people off the ball. And I don't know if what he evaluated and then what he developed always synced up. Like his best of development is Justin Evans. And there's been some other guys in the program who really haven't gotten on the field yet. And I do think it's part of Jeep Wade's job to get those guys going because they were talented recruits. So those things change almost every single time you go in and out of the process. For example, Nebraska's wide receivers coach, Da'Keel Shorts, he likes guys that are taller. It's pretty clear that he does, based on the guys that they have added to the program. Even Purify's kid, he's tall. I don't know exactly what his height is, but I mean, it's 6'3.5", whatever it is.
He's a big kid. He's a tall kid.
Yeah. And you add him to the guys that they already had. I mean, Keelan Smith, 6'4". Jeremiah Jones is 6'4". Quinn Clark is 6'6". I mean, this is going to be a really large wide receiver core, larger than usual. Like you can compare that to the group that Nebraska had back in the 90s, and that was 5'10" and 5'9". And let's be clear, those guys were really good football players. So you don't have to be super tall to be super good, but you see what Nebraska wants. They want the tall guys. They want tall guys who can win one-on-one battles up in the air. They're probably not going to be quite as quick twitch. But is there a contrast between Wan'Dale Robinson and Quinn Clark? Yeah, there's a big difference between the kinds of things that those two players are able to do. So you always kind of watch what they're looking for. You can kind of see what the running back room's going to be. There's probably not going to be a 6'2" and 240-pound guy after Ives. Ives is probably going to be the last guy who's that big. They're probably going to go with a smaller guy, which I'm in favor of. Probably not a 6'2", 240 guy. You can kind of see what they like out of the tight end, sort of an H-back style player. They're probably going to try to sign 2 in this class. They got a blocking guy in Joey Hunter. He's a big body, physical player. And then they're going to try to get this other kid from Bishop Gorman this weekend, or Ahmad Hudson. And in theory, Ahmad Hudson will be available to them if they'll take him. So, and that's more of an adjuster player. So like Ahmad Hudson's not going to, he's not going to sit there in 2 tight sets and maul.
And that's what Ahmad had said too in his recruitment, right? I think that's one of the last things he had said after his official, that Nebraska was willing to kind of change and adjust some of their style if he were to come to Lincoln.
Yeah, they would, and there's it's an interesting dilemma. A good problem to have. They had same things they had to work through with Fedoni, who was super talented, and now with Carter Nelson, who is also super talented. How do you incorporate tight ends who function more like receivers if they're not a Gronkowski, where they can block and they can catch? It's you have to figure out how you're going to utilize your offense. It can be interesting. Like, I think what they love is Janiron Bonner, 6'2", 225 receiver who's playing tight end. Like, that's kind of what they like. Is like, hey, this will be our 2 tight guy, and he'll come in and he can catch, he can block, he can carry the ball. Like, they like that kind of guy. I'll be curious to see how they take the 6'5", 230-pound tight end wide receiver and convert him into the kind of player they want. And they build the offense around a Hudson or a Nelson. Like, that's an interesting. I think what we've seen is that Dana Holgerson likes the Bonner type. The H-back, the Luke Sorensen will be the exact same thing. Like, he likes that kind of player, and I'll be curious to see how they use the taller kind of tight end.
Sam, do you think you've been able to see enough? I know we haven't seen him play, obviously, but have you been able to see enough from the recruiting side of things to figure out what types of players Corey Brown likes?
Well, I think you have to look through the board of players that they recruited initially, but I don't think they're too worried about trying to get guys in here who are 6'3" and 315 pounds. Granted, Dylan Berryman is that. He's like 6'2" or whatever he is. But I think they're willing to get guys in here who are 6'3", 260. Earl DeMontenac is probably 6'2", 290.
Oh, we lose him?
I think so.
Let's pop him out of the stream real quick, see if we can connect with him again one more time. Because I think there's
some interesting stuff, though.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by.
What's interesting is it's not stuff that we haven't thought of or talked about before, but it's almost like it's like a different angle of it. Like, I hadn't thought about like the different in like athleticism and stuff, and how you kind of are looking at the different ways of the different position groups and how you want these certain groups to look and that sort of stuff. And like the different athletes you're looking, because athleticism is such a generic term, right?
There's lots of different types of athleticism, right? You've got the kind of explosive athleticism that is normally what people are talking about. Hey, they run a 4.4 40 and they have a 40-inch vertical. That's generally what we're talking about, what people mean when they say athleticism. And then you've kind of got like the lateral athleticism of the ability to change direction, start, stop, that type of thing. And then generally when I'm talking about like body control.
Yes.
How well do you control your body in different situations, in different spaces? To me, that's really sort of the root of all athleticism, because if you can control your body well, then A, you're probably going to run fast enough and jump high enough, but B, it also doesn't matter as much because you'll be able to get yourself in the position you need to be successful. So I do think there's a lot of different variants of that. And I think the one position we hadn't really talked about very much with it was tight end. We talked about offensive and defensive line.
Well, and it's funny he's bringing up all that too, because they're legitimately making a tight end into defensive end this year with Markway.
Yes. Yeah. And
his unique circumstance and everything else. But I mean, still, yeah.
And I do wonder, like when we're talking about the Nebraska grown tight ends versus rush ends thing, I do like, I know he brought up Linda Meyer, and that honestly wasn't really one of the examples I was thinking of off the top of my head, because he's a different type of athlete, like really strong. I think he has good body control, but not the explosive type of athlete you usually think of when you think of a really good pass rusher, right? But like Carter Nelson has a lot of those explosive athletic abilities, right? The 40, the broad jumps, the verticals, where you would think like, yeah, maybe like that. It seems like that's an athletic profile that would translate to being a pass rusher. Or the guy that I really liked coming out of high school, and I liked him. Sometimes it's hard to tell with tight ends in terms of pass catching in high school because not all the offenses are created equally.
Yes. Right. I mean, there are some high school offenses where a tight end may catch 18 passes in a season.
Yeah.
Like you might get a target a game at that.
Not everybody had the Chase Loft and Isaac Jensen experience where you get Jet Tamala just winging it to you for a couple
most
years.
Nebraska high school offenses aren't throwing the ball 30 times a game either. So.
Right. So but I loved Eric Ingerson as a defensive end in high school.
Very good pick. Very good pick.
I was like, I'm not 100% sure he shouldn't be a defensive end in college.
Right.
And he is that 6'7", but I do think has really good body control. I don't know that.
Well, you can go down the list of some of the higher recruits, like I think it's Micah. Is it Riley from Bellevue West? Like I didn't think that he would have been like
Micah Riley Ducker.
Micah Riley Ducker, thank you. I think we've already had this conversation once, And then you mentioned Lofton, Isaac Jensen in that sense.
Bramer going to
Bramer was my next pick. That I think that he probably fits the mold of what you're looking for, like the defensive end, tight end.
Wasn't there one that went to Oklahoma too? Was there a tight end?
Helms.
Yeah.
Yep. Also Bellevue West.
Yeah, also out of Bellevue West. So you've got those are the type of guys where I'm like, hey, you've got an athletic profile where it's like, yeah, you could probably turn these guys into defensive ends. I do think there's part of, and I don't know if this is doing kids a disservice or not, I do think there's become a fascination with the tight end position.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's super versatile, right? But I would argue there's still nothing short of a quarterback more valuable on a football field than the ability to rush the passer. So I do get a little frustrated. It's probably too strong of a word, but a little, I guess, befuddled about like, hey, we've got these kids that like fit really good pass rushing profiles that we're all just like, nope, you're going to be a tight end. You're going to be a tight end too.
Do you want the lame answer?
What's that?
It's much easier in the summer to work on being a tight end than it is a pass rusher.
Fair. Totally fair. Like 7-on-7, you get to be a tight end. You don't get to be a pass rusher. Fair enough. I also think
there's a lot of not a lot of off-season glamour when it comes to being a defensive end.
Absolutely.
Pass rusher.
You're 100% right there. There is a ton of glamour when you are an elite pass rusher in games.
100%.
Right. I would argue
you can
maybe more so than, I mean, I get that the high-end tight ends are like really, really high profile.
But you can become,
but in terms of like a sexy position on the football field, elite pass rushers are up there.
And also completely game wrecking another team. If you are an elite pass rusher
without
at any level,
ever touching the ball.
Yeah. Unless you're really good pass rusher.
Yeah.
Then you're touching the ball all the time.
Every once in a while. You still, but you know what I mean? Like there's a different level of, I think, impact. I would say pass rushers second most impactful individual position after quarterback. Obviously, like offensive lines are more of a unit in terms of their positional value. That's how I view them. So that's a different discussion. But in terms of just individual skill set and things you can do at least somewhat on your own, I think it's quarterback and then pass rusher. And you're probably right, though. It probably is the 7-on-7 thing, which I hadn't even – you think about it with wide receivers and quarterbacks and corners a lot. Hadn't even thought about it with tight ends, but you're probably 100% right, which I'm not one of those 7-on-7 haters, but that sucks. Well, I want more pass rushers.
And I know, so you've been more in touch with like the Omaha side, and obviously, being close with DB, you kind of understand a little bit more of what it's looked like around here for the past, half decade or so. But how many, just off the rip, and I'm using Sam's question or Sam's, kind of discussion as the center point of this, because this is what he had said. How many high-end off-ball linebackers or, I guess, pass-rushing defensive ends have come out of Nebraska and or Omaha over the past few years? Like, strictly that. There's not many. Not that I can. I mean, even if you go back, so like Jace Reynolds from Elkhorn North, who is a Husker now, inside linebacker, outside linebacker in kind of a stacked defense. So not necessarily a pure pass rusher. He would rush, but sometimes it was mostly on inside and blitzes and stuff. You keep going down the line with like different linebackers and all that. So like, I don't remember a pure pass rusher over the past few years that has come out.
So that's the thing is like Pierce Newberry, outside linebacker, but like a linebacker, not a like more of a 4-3 linebacker, not a 3-4 linebacker, right? Same thing with like Christian Jones, although he's moved. I believe at Westside he moved from outside to, or from inside to outside linebacker. So like, but again, like a linebacker. Although he did rush some, but I wouldn't call him a pure pass.
And again,
rusher.
his was
Garrett Nelson.
Oh, that's So Garrett, they ran a 4-4.
How long
in
ago was that?
Scottsbluff. That would have been 2012. No, 17, 18. Right.
He was like the second Frost recruiting class.
Yeah, he was one of the first, but
one of the earlier ones.
I want to say 2018. But Garrett Nelson's a really, really great pick because yes, he would have played like their outside stand-up rush end, and they had a unique defense. And again, this is I mean, Class B, Nebraska, Panhandle. You're not going to be playing high-flying offensive attacks or guys that have like multiple athletes that you worry about. So they would just run stacks and they would just basically rush outside. And most of his stuff came from either a wide nine in pass rushing situations, or he would just crash inside and use kind of a bull rush to be able to get through. But Garrett Nelson's probably actually one of the better pulls of a guy that I could think of just from the in-state sense of the recruitment.
To Sam's point in that scenario, 6'2", 6'3", 240, 250 pounds, not a prototypical, hey, this is a 6'6", 270 pound.
Right.
Which ironically, Nebraska has one of those. His name's Williams Winery.
Yes.
Like Nebraska also has that version of that guy as well, where you're like, oh, maybe that, if you can, and you saw flashes of it last year where he'd get around in it.
The Michigan State game.
Yeah, he'd get around a tackle and you're like, oh, that looked different.
He made people look silly.
If you can get him to A, do that consistently, and B, also have the rest of the discipline he needs within the defense, you're like, okay, this is a different thing here. But
Mason Goldman, good pick. Alex, that's another good one. It's a good thought.
Yeah, I think we forget about him because I think he was recruited as a tackle, basically. Although, did he move over to defensive line again?
I think Snodgrass was an inside linebacker, Corn Raider. I think.
Garrett Snodgrass?
I think so. But York, they were playing all over the place, so they might have rotated him around and done some situational stuff in there too.
See if we can come up with Garrett Snodgrass here.
Yeah, your Googling skills is going to work well.
6'3", 225. So, yeah, I think more linebackery.
But here's the other part of it, too, is that I just went full DP. I went off camera. How dare I? But, yeah, it's just
the chair, man.
I know. It's just something about it. Should I just stand up and walk around? But there was two parts of that conversation that he had. One was he never mentioned like the measurable attributes, right? It was never about like he had mentioned like Keona Davis, like how this guy looked and like the different receiver.
Like size.
Yeah, the size. Yeah. But I think your version of athleticism is more what Nebraska's version of athleticism and their recruitment is what they are targeting. I don't think that they're looking for get off the bus guys and look good in shorts guys. I think they're looking for guys who on tape, either playing football or in kind of other aspects of life or in sport, they are good athletes. They have body control. And it's not just about looking good in the weight room. It's about not even necessarily, I don't even want to say necessarily like their high school tape matches what they're doing. I think it flashes what potential that they could have if you develop them into the football player that you think that you can.
I also think, I think when you've got, and I'll use Caleb Benning as an example here, that coming out of high school, because he didn't do the camps. He didn't do, he wanted to play basketball all throughout his high school career. So, he didn't do a lot of the things that lead to the sexy measurables that people look at and the star rankings that people look at and stuff like that. But anybody who watched him was like, not only is that kid a great football player, he's a great athlete. But you would have probably looked at him and he probably ran, I'm guessing, DB hasn't told me. I'm guessing he ran like a 4.6 and change coming out of high school, which you're like, for a defensive back, like that's not going to work. But you could tell by the body control, you're like, oh, once they actually get him into a college strength and conditioning program and they teach him how to run and all this kind of stuff, and like I think he shaved like 2/10 off his 40 since he's got here, right? So like all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's a defensive back running in the 4.4s. Yeah, this is fine. And so like that's part of it too, is if you've got a guy that is a good athlete and has great body control, I'll figure out the measurables later. Like I'm not super worried about that in a sense with high school kids, which is to your point. I think, but the hard thing about that, and this is where I think Nebraska's gone wrong for years. And so that's why talking with Sam about the identity of what the coaches are looking for is really interesting, is if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you can't rely on your eyes to be like, oh, I don't care what the 40 says. That kid's a good athlete. I can see it, right? Or he can, it's like, I understand his broad jump might not be 10.8, but I can tell he does the things I need him to be able to do, and he's a good enough athlete for that, right? Like there's a bunch of that kind of stuff, but you have to know exactly what you're looking for. And that's been a problem at Nebraska, I think, basically since Solich left, I think, right? Like Callahan knew what he was looking for in certain positions, like an offensive lineman, but at other positions, I'm not totally sure he had a great feel for that. I would say Pelini had a decent idea of what he was looking for on defense. On offense, I don't think he had any idea what he wanted to look for. Riley was Riley. And Frost, I think, just missed. Like, I don't know that he, like, I
think sometimes they got at, listen, I'm not in those recruitment rooms or anything like that, but it did feel like, and you can go back and kind of look at the ratings and whatnot. What was the biggest gripe of a lot of the Frost era of many things was that, well, these high profile 4-star guys are coming in, but then
they've never developed.
So maybe they just got hung up on a couple of star ratings, and they're either they didn't have the ability to develop, which we could probably,
you make
hindsight is 2020, and you'd be like, yeah, probably, or they got guys who this is what they were, and this is what they kind of could be. I do think that that's probably like a dual-edged sword. If you had better development, you could kind of develop 4-stars and make them better. But maybe they were getting guys that this was kind of what they were. This was like the best athlete, the best version that they could be, and tried to pull the best that you could out of them. They did have some diamonds in the rough that pulled up. You got a couple of Reimers. You got a couple of other guys that kind of showed out a little bit more. I think Cam Taylor Britt like got better every single year in and year out. Obviously turned into a draft pick from there. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys in that opportunity where it was like, man, it just feels like we're trying to pull a lot out from these 4-stars, and we're not getting that return that we feel like that is deserved from that rating.
And again, I say this all the time. Like the star ratings aren't created equally, right? No. Those are ratings for the general populace, right? Because a guy's a 4-star, if he doesn't do the things well that you're going to ask him to do, he's not actually a 4-star for you, right? The guys that we always get upset about with Iowa, they're like, how do they turn all these 3-stars into NFL draft picks? It's like, well, they're getting the 3-star, you can ignore the star rating. They're getting the guys that are the absolute best at what Iowa's going to ask them to do.
Right.
So the star rating no longer matters when you go to Iowa, because that's a situation where you're like, oh, I know exactly what I need this guy to do. This guy is capable of those things. He's going to be great here, right? Their ability to match what I need it to look like with what this guy's physical capabilities are is unmatched, right? I would argue that at a high level, that's what Iowa was successful at. That's what Wisconsin was successful at before they fell down kind of their path that they're on right now.
Well, and a great example of offensive line, because they were just getting guys that were like, yeah, these guys, it doesn't matter if they're 1, 2, 3, if they're walk-ons, whatever, they're going to sit for 3 years. I mean, every single starting offensive line for Wisconsin I can remember that goes up on the lower third to start a game was redshirt junior, redshirt senior, redshirt. I mean, there was never a sophomore that was playing. There was never a freshman, and it was a different time. But yeah, that was how they developed and built it. But they also had a reputation of saying, you got a good chance if you come here that you could become an NFL offensive lineman. I think that's what Nebraska is becoming or trying to become under Jeep Wade, because he has the proven track record to say, if you believe in me, if you're willing to be here for 3 years and settle and develop, my return on investment is very high. You can believe in what I can put out for you.
I also think that you're able to do that with offensive linemen because, I think there is a recognition even amongst themselves that, hey, physically, most of us aren't going to be ready right away.
And they don't want to get beat up that way.
Yeah. And so I think that's part of it. And then 2, I also just think, and maybe I'm being too general here, but I also think that the mindset of offensive linemen is so much different. Like we kind of bemoan the like current athlete personality types, right? Where it's like, oh, they're such divas. They want all this attention. They're so entitled. Like offensive linemen generally just aren't like that.
Yeah.
They like, you get it some with edge rushers. You get it some with defensive linemen. But obviously you get it with quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers a lot.
Dominic Drouot's a really good pull. That's a Drouot is actually probably, and a non-Nebraska guy.
Yes.
Or I should say Nebraska football guy, but an in-state guy that went out.
Sid said Ben Stilley too from
Ben Stilley's a good one. Good pull. Yeah.
But you've got all these guys that you sit here and you go, what exactly are we looking for versus what are guys capable of doing? And with the Jeep Wade part of it, I think there's just a mindset shift with offensive linemen where you can afford to develop them because they're not as likely to just bail, right? Maybe I'm being too like broad strokes here, but I think there's a reason you don't see a ton of good offensive linemen in the portal. I think they're way more patient. I think they understand what's going on in terms of their own development better. Whereas if you get a 5-star wide receiver that comes out and doesn't catch 50 balls his first year, he's like, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. This is stupid.
Yep.
And maybe he's right. Maybe physically, because like physically, he's probably is ready to go out and dominate in college football, where a 5-star offensive tackle probably isn't, right? You've got maybe a couple of those guys a year that start early on the offensive line side of the ball. And I mean, like Jordan Seaton, the guy from Colorado, was one of them. He started basically right away. But you see almost no true freshmen starting on the offensive line, regardless of the level of college football. So I do wonder if it's just a thing where offensive line is a place where you can still afford to develop because you don't have to worry to the same extent about them just bailing after 2 years and you getting nothing out of that situation. Like, I do think they're just a totally different animal when it comes to current college football recruiting. I don't know. We'll see.
It's a good thought.
6 offensive linemen in a class would be dope, though.
I like
their class right now.
I like you want to talk, if you talk about long-term sustainability, you imagine, and I'm not even suggesting these guys turn into all Big Ten, all Americans, anything like that. But if you get 6 guys that are in your system, and by year 3, year 4 of them being in your system and they're playing, I mean, cohesion, trust, all that sort of stuff, development, like, especially under a guy like Jeep Wade, if he's here for all 4 of those years, which, I mean, listen, if you get 6 guys in a class and Jeep Wade's still not here for whatever reason, but regardless of that, man, you feel pretty good about where that comes in.
Cornerator says, how many of Nebraska's academic All-Americans were O-linemen? There's a reason why they're patient. They're smarter. You might not be wrong.
I know you guys don't have the answer for this, and I don't know if anybody could, but I feel like a lot of the NFL offensive linemen weren't like 4-year starters or even like 3-year starters. I feel like a lot of them were like 2 years. Like they sat for 2 years and developed, and then it's like, redshirt sophomore, redshirt junior, and if you're good enough, you leave. If not, then it's that 3rd year, and then you go, and then they last a long time in the NFL. Or I don't think a lot of those guys are starting as freshmen, going for 3 years, and then going like 1st round, 2nd round.
Yeah, the only guys I can think of off the top of my head are like an Orlando Pace, who had played super young, if I remember right, at Ohio State.
I think so, and just a man-child.
Yeah, and who's I'm losing the name. Who's the guy he's for Washington, and Trent Williams. Trent Williams
for the 49ers.
But again, I mean, listen, this whole conversation, Trent Williams is a perfect example of all this, right? Like Trent Williams, so many people in NFL locker rooms will tell you Trent Williams is the best athlete the NFL has had in 2 decades. And he plays left tackle. He's not making, 6 sacks, over the course of 4 games. He's not like dominating. Like he's not going to get any player of the game awards or anything like that. But people in NFL locker rooms recognize that Trent Williams is maybe the baddest man in the NFL when it comes to that sort of stuff. And you're not going to get a Trent Williams level athlete. You're not going to get a guy that looks like Jonathan Ogden, or you're not going to get a guy with like Orlando Pace level. You would hope in that sort of sense that you're going to find these guys like somehow, some way. But more realistically, how do you get versions of that into what you need? What Nebraska's looking for, would they take like a Jonathan Ogden type where it's like, oh, just this massive human being, a guy who's never going to move. He's a mountain, right? Like anything he puts his hands on is going to stay. Absolutely, you would take that, right? But in terms of general ability, you're probably looking more for the Trent Williams. Like, we want athletes, we want guys who are going to be able to shuffle move, be able to say, hey, listen, someone got banged up down here on the right side, and we're going to have to like move you down. So you got to be smart. You got to be able to know where you're going, and we can kind of plug and play and see where you need to go.
So I think there's a good point there as well in a couple things. Not that they wouldn't take him. Obviously, like if you get an Orlando Pace or a Jonathan Ogden or a Trent Williams level of prospect, you're going to take him. But I do think there's a part of it where you look at and go, I don't think that's what Jeep Wade wants, because like you're not having those guys pull.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I think.
Well, I mean, the new wave, the NFL and college football has changed a lot since Jonathan Ogden played in a Super Bowl, right? Like, I mean, we're talking about a guy who was a left tackle, never moved. There are offenses now in college football where the left tackle will be asked to pull out in front of screens
Or
and
go
be able,
like Dominic just said, like they put Trent Williams in motion sometimes. Like they'll put him as like the extra, like as a tight end, basically. And yes, he's like the unicorn of size and athleticism, right? That's why, you kind of said what you did about the way people view him. But I do think there's way more, at least in Jeep Wade's system, that we're going to see of just offensive linemen on the move. And so that lends itself to a different style of offensive lineman. But also, I do think there's part of this, even if you're ready physically sooner, because you don't have to be 340 pounds and some enormous dude to be able to play in the system. I do think it's probably more complicated in terms of what you're being asked to do, right? And I think there's a little bit of a learning curve there as well, because I don't know how much. I would guess from what I've seen mostly in obviously Nebraska high school, you're not asked to do a lot of those things. Yeah. Especially if you're just like, hey, I'm bigger, stronger than everybody else. Like I'm just going to maul my guy. You can run behind me. We're cool. Like unless you're running a very specific type of offensive system, which I know some high schools do, but speaking broadly here, I think a lot of times there's a big learning curve from high school to college and offensive line as well, much bigger than maybe we give it credit for. Like we always talk about, you got to learn so much as a quarterback. Yep. You got to learn a hell of a lot as an offensive lineman as well. And I think that might be some of the disconnect, not just on the physical side of things. Like, yeah, you've got to be pretty smart and know what you're doing. And because here's the thing, you screw up as an offensive lineman, everybody knows you screwed up.
That's why everything you just said about learning, movement, all that stuff, that's why Barrett Kittrell is really interesting.
I think that's a guy.
That's why Rule went out to a basketball game to watch him play.
I think that's a guy that will end up being at Nebraska. I do.
I hope he comes to Nebraska.
I think that's a guy
that's where I'm at. Like, I want him to be a Husker.
And I'll be honest, this is the thing I've done for a long time. I love going and watching football players in general, but especially linemen go play basketball, because you get a totally different perspective on how they move.
And listen, Ashton Greenwood, great basketball program, did not revolve around Kittrell by any means, but he had a role for that team. And he knew exactly what his role was. Like, I mean, they're a C1 school, so if they got another big guy or they've got a tall guy that, can kind of eat up some space or anything, Barrett, you go in there and you just body down.
That's your guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you get to watch him?
So I haven't watched him yet. The one that I think of all the time, and this is nothing against this kid because I hear he's just like one of the best kids in the world. I remember watching Teddy Prohaska play basketball at Elkhorn South.
Yeah.
And I just go, for a certain type of offensive tackle, it probably would have been fine. But I just remember watching him move and I go, I don't think that's the type of offensive tackle I would want. And obviously he got, the injuries and everything. And I do think he got too tall, and that's not his fault, but there is part of the height thing for me is I don't think you move as well. Like there's a certain point, there's a reason we call like Giannis the Greek freak, right? Like people that are 7 feet tall aren't supposed to move like that, right? There's a reason we call Wemby the alien. People that are that tall like the taller you get, the less well you tend to move. And so just at his size, even in high school, when I think he was only 6'8", you're looking at it and you go, I just don't know if the movement's going to be there in the way you want it to. And then obviously it gets to like a legit 6'10" or 11. You're like, I don't think football players are supposed to be that tall, man. But yeah, I think watching football players, especially linemen, play basketball is, I don't want to say like a cheat code in terms of evaluations and evals, but I do think it tells you way more than people give it credit
Yeah,
for.
well, it's one of the few sports where you put a big man out there and you're like, I can actually see you move in open space, right? Because you're not going to get that in track. You can see explosion. You can see athleticism in that sense. And
don't get me wrong,
rarely baseball, but
I love a shot putter. I love a good shot putter on the lines. Kind of got violent hands and short area explosiveness, but I love wrestlers on lines.
Yep.
Know how to leverage their weight and everything like that. But man, in terms of just movement, you're not going to find a better way to actually evaluate movement and footwork than see him on a basketball court. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to talk to Sean DEVENEY about the NBA Finals, and somebody won, I think. I don't remember.
I feel like Rico should do this segment.
I was watching the World Cup. I don't know what was happening. I think there may have been basketball on as well.
Baseball series was on too. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
forgot about baseball.
Baseball, College World Series.
Yeah.
Good stuff. We'll be right back with Sean DEVENEY from Heavy.com to talk about the NBA Finals.
We call them the buckskins, and that has to do with a lot of the clothing, which would traditionally be made out of deerskin, buck for buckskins. So the deerskin leather would be the outfit. We have the rifle here, which has a long heritage of makers and the history of the Mountaineers firing them off whenever we have touchdowns, home runs, whenever we have things to celebrate, we get to fire off this gun. Now, we also have plenty of gadgets that are covered in history. All these kinds of tools might be used. We have our powder horn that we typically use to store powder in whenever we're getting the gun to go off, and this has been carved in a wonderful place and passed down from mountaineer to mountaineer. We have the possibles bag from the days of hunting that carries anything we could possibly need. All of our goodies, anything we need for the rifle, sunscreen, hand sanitizer, all of that goes in the bag. We have a belt, which we also get to customize. Mine says "My Home Among the Hills." It's a song out of Clarksburg, West Virginia that I've sang since I was a kid. The guy who wrote it owned a store in Clarksburg that's still open today. It's more than 100 years old. We have belt buckles we get to choose. This is a 1969 graduation gift from a family friend, and all the way down to the boots. Every bit of us is covered in history, and it's an amazing opportunity to be part of this culture and to represent West Virginia so well. We have so much to celebrate.
This is immaculate. We haven't even started yet. We haven't got to the game yet. Look at this crowd. Look at the energy. I've always been told Husker fans are legit. They love their sports. Guess what I'm ready to do tonight? Throw the bones. I'm ready to throw the bones tonight, baby. I'm so excited. I'm so bumped up.
We talked about this a year ago. How surreal is it to see this happen in Nebraska?
You know, I believe in everything happens for a reason. And that's exactly what Banana Ball is. We're spreading so much joy and positivity that a lot of these people are going through things. But out here, you don't worry about anything. All you worry about is having fun. And, you know, we start at 2:30, we get done at 9, and then we do stuff afterwards. So it's a full day of fun, you know. And what's great is our prices are only $60 for the most expensive seat. So it's affordable for families. And, you know, if they hadn't been able to experience it, hopefully they get to, because it's great on TV, but you feel this energy. It's like a concert you always wanted to go to, and you finally get to go to it, and you're just living your best life. Hey, Nebraska, go Big Red! Let's go!
We used to.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Fox to Wemby. Wemby tries a three, puts it up, off the mark. Anunoby the rebound. It's over. It's over. Knick fans, this is not a dream. Your long, long wait has ended. Go ahead and cry. After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Mail Medical. That's Austin.
Nice.
I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports.
I'm no longer Damon Benning.
HQ. We are joined now by Sean Deveney, Heavy.com NBA insider. Sean, how are we doing this morning?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Doing good, Sean. Hey, our producer is a lifetime New York Knicks fan, and this has been his entire dream. He's loved this. So he was not tearing up local Omaha, but I didn't know if maybe you had any Knicks celebration where you're at.
No, I mean, I'm here in Boston, and, traditionally Bostonians and New Yorkers don't get along. I will say that if you saw people in New York stuff all throughout the city over the weekend, people were giving them the thumbs up. I think everybody can appreciate, especially in Boston, a long drought and the ending of a long drought. And certainly you've got to give the Knicks credit for that.
All right, so before we give the Knicks credit, I want to assign some blame to the Spurs first.
Yes, let's not get to Knicks talk for as long as possible.
I'd like to start there. How much of this do you put on the coaching or decision-making of Mitch Johnson and how he was, either getting Wemby the ball or not getting Wemby the ball in certain positions? And how much do you put it on just the execution of players like decision-making from De'Aaron Fox, where you can't always tell what he could or should be doing?
Yeah, I think there's no question that coaching-wise, it felt like Mitch Johnson was always a step behind in this series, which is a far cry from where he was last series. And it seemed like he was a step ahead of what the Thunder were doing. So the Knicks, I think you've got to credit them for having experienced players, an experienced coaching staff, and I really think that showed through. I mean, you can look at each of these games and you say, well, it's a 5-game series. It was the Knicks killed them. Well, no, they didn't. I mean, these were all close games that really the Spurs could have won all of these games. They were right there in all of these games. Of course, the 29-point lead is the one that stands out the most. But certainly, in game 5, they had a 15-point lead. And so, the Spurs were doing everything right. It's just it felt like when crunch time came, when it came to making adjustments, when it came to getting baskets, you absolutely needed. The Spurs did not have the answers, and the Knicks did. So certainly you put that on the coaching staff. But you mentioned Fox, and look, this is a brutal series for him. He's playing with an injury. He's not 100%. You got to give him a little credit for that. But he's supposed to be the experienced guy. He's supposed to be the younger guys that are making the mistakes. Instead, it was the veteran. And that's something that is going to be very tough for him to deal with this summer and maybe going forward in his career as well if he doesn't get back to this point.
So where do you kind of evaluate the Spurs now from, I guess, just in terms of how, I guess, a general rebuild has gone? Because obviously they make this deep postseason run. They're a few games away from themselves being NBA champions, and some would argue just a few impactful quarters away from maybe taking the series. But yet they still end up disappointed and likely very disappointed in how all of this turned out. Where do you put where they are now kind of in the, I guess, hierarchy of the Western Conference?
Yeah, it's still them and the Thunder. I think you have to have the Thunder right there. They're going to be back. That was a 7-game series. They'll probably improve between now and next spring. So I'm not even sure I would have them ahead of the Thunder at this point, really, because I do think that Oklahoma City, when they make the changes that they're going to make, and I don't expect huge changes, by the way. I think they're going to make some tweaks. You'll probably let Lou Dort go, bring back Hartenstein on a different contract. But they're going to make some changes. They've got plenty of draft picks. They've got a lot of things they can work with. So I still like where the Thunder are, probably more than where the Spurs are. But, looking at the talent level that the Spurs have and the ages of these guys, for Wemby, for Castle, for Harper, and really they're just getting started. And they made a lot of mistakes. They learned a lot in this run. So you've got to like where they're going to be. But it's sort of, it's setting up, if you're in the West, especially with the changes in the lottery system now, is going to make it tougher to gather all these pieces together. You're looking at Oklahoma City and San Antonio probably for a long time. Curious to see how things play out for the Jazz, but certainly with the way things are set up right now, we're looking at Oklahoma City and the Spurs for quite some time.
Sean, if you're San Antonio, do you stand pat with your roster? You mentioned the young guys, but I do wonder about De'Aaron Fox. Is that someone that, you say, hey, we actually need to start Dylan Harper, so why don't we try and go find sort of a sixth man instant offense off the bench type of guy that can do the things that we thought De'Aaron Fox could and he failed to do in the finals?
Yeah, I think eventually they'll move De'Aaron Fox. I think that was always the plan. But he's just starting a 4-year extension and coming off of a brutal NBA finals. Now is not the best time to trade him. Now's not the time to say, hey, give us your best possible package for De'Aaron Fox, because teams are looking at it like, no, we're not going to do that. I think it was always going to be the plan to trade him probably next year. And I don't think that changes. I think you've got to stick with that. If you want to change the roles and tell Fox, hey, look, you're going to be the sixth man now, Harper's going to start, then that's how it's going to be. But I don't think you want to trade him now kind of at the bottom of his value. And with that big extension, I think a lot of teams are looking at that extension and say, we're not ready for that. But, you get a year into it and it becomes a little more palatable. So I think that's probably how this plays out.
Sean, just to get to the Knicks part of it, I'm not suggesting that the New York Knicks are the greatest team in NBA history by any means. I don't want Rico to overshoot, and think that this is getting too out of whack. But the finals run was obviously so impressive, but it's a little misleading, right? Because it's dominant in the way that they were able to come back, but it's not like they had dominant four-quarter performances that they ended up winning every single game en route to their NBA championship. So in terms of maybe this past recent run of parity in the NBA, are the Knicks maybe the most dominant postseason run that we've seen? And if so, can you compare them to one that you've seen before in NBA history?
Well, the Celtics a couple of years ago, that was pretty good as well. But yeah, I can go back. You go back to the Lakers in the early 2000s, and those were the most of all the finals that I covered. I've never seen anything like. They just steamrolled teams, especially when they got to the finals. It was just not even close. So probably some of those old Laker teams in 2001. That team was just incredible. So certainly that would probably rank as the best one that I've covered. But this one's up there. What they did in the Eastern Conference playoffs, and you can say, well, they weren't great teams and Embiid was hurt and all this stuff. That's fine, but they crushed all those teams. You know what I mean? They absolutely, especially you look at the point differential. It was in the 20s, and so they were crushing everybody heading into that Spurs series. And obviously the games were tough, but they still won that series in 5. So you got to give them a lot of credit for that.
Sean, I'm curious about how this changes the way we maybe talk about Mike Brown as a basketball coach in the NBA, because I'll be honest, I gave Rico a hard time after the very long search for a head coach to replace Tom Thibodeau. I was like, well, hey, I think you're going to end up with Rick Brunson as your head coach, which would have been objectively hilarious. But when they did hire Mike Brown, I was like, what's anybody ever won with Mike Brown? And I think that was a pretty common sentiment. Now that you look at this, was this just a combination of right place, right time, right team, right temperament of their head coach, or maybe we should have been giving Mike Brown a little bit more credit all along?
Well, I think both of those things are true, actually. I mean, I was in the boat too, saying, what are the Knicks doing? Don't forget. And look, the Knicks were in that boat too, because this was their third or fourth choice. I mean, they tried to get Jason Kidd, they tried to get Chris Finch, they tried to get a bunch of other guys before they wind up with Mike Brown. So, you can't necessarily say the Knicks knew this was coming all along. They didn't. They kind of took Mike Brown because he was what was there, and so there's that. At the same time, he has been a coaching lifer, and he's gotten better. I mean, he was a good coach in Sacramento, and he didn't get much credit for that. Obviously, they fired him for sort of outside reasons because of disagreements with De'Aaron Fox, for one thing. But yeah, so he's been a pretty good coach. He was a very good associate coach for the Warriors. You could talk to people there. You talk to Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr loved him. And he was not a very good head coach in Cleveland when he was there. That's just a fact. And you can go back and look, and they had a very limited offense. They were easy to defend, and their results were terrible. So he's gotten better, and I think that did show. And he was a much better fit for this team, for these players, than Tom Thibodeau, because he kind of let these players decide, how things were going to go, rather than an iron fist type. And when you got the veterans that this team has, I think that's the kind of personality you want.
Sean, what did every single year that there's an NBA champion, or really in any of the major sports, there's always that conversation of what did the league learn from this year's champion, and what can people steal the ideas from or try to follow that to be, follow that process to become a champion themselves. What did the NBA learn from the Knicks title that maybe teams will try to emulate, whether it's this offseason or in the years to come?
I think that gets overblown, especially now, because the way we're dealing with things in the NBA with the aprons and the luxury tax and all the stuff that makes it so hard to keep players.
Mm-hmm.
We see the parity, and I think this was nine different champions in a row, which is just so rare. We don't see those dominant teams. So I'd be loath to try to take too much out of what the Knicks did. But this is a team that built from the wings. And I think that's probably the key, that Brunson's going to get the credit and Karl-Anthony Towns gets the credit. But the guy who deserves credit probably more than anybody is OG Anunoby, because he's got the versatility. He can defend multiple positions. He can defend 1 through 5. And he was the most consistent player on that team all throughout the playoffs. So Brunson and Cat, they get the glory, and I get that. But they started by building with OG Anunoby and then with Bridges as well. And Bridges hasn't been nearly as good as Anunoby, but he's still pretty important in terms of what they want to do. When you look at teams that keep failing, a team like Cleveland, for instance, they've got so many spots where you can attack them. They've got weak defensive players that you can attack. If you've got Mitchell out there, you've got Harden out there, I can attack you with those guys. The Knicks don't really have players. You can attack Brunson a little bit, but he's a pretty good defensive player for his size, and they can make up for it. When you have these teams that have 2-3 spots where you can attack them defensively, that's how they keep losing. So that's probably the thing that you can take out of this. If you're another team looking at the Knicks, is I got to get some defensive wings who aren't duds on offense, who can do something on offense, but are can guard 1 through 5. Those are hard to find, but that's what the Knicks did.
I thought the answer was just draft more Big East players.
Just get the whole Villanova team, right?
Sean, you mentioned Jalen Brunson there, and we probably haven't talked enough about him yet in this interview. Don't shake your head at me, Rico. It's fine. We'll get to it. Jalen Brunson obviously had, I don't think it's overstating to say, one of the more dominant, especially fourth quarter dominant performances in recent NBA history. What do we do with the conversation about his career now? Because I was thinking on my way in this morning, we had all these conversations about like, oh, is 15 years ago, is LeBron going to go to the Knicks and bring him the championship? We'd have, every time a free agent comes up, are they going to go to the Knicks and be the guy that saves New York and whatever? And it's this guy that nobody thought it was going to be, right? He was the backup point guard in Dallas, and he turns into a superstar. What do we do about the conversation about Jalen Brunson's career in a historic capacity now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think you've got to start putting him, something on the level of Isaiah Thomas. I mean, because he's that sort of undersized guard. Won a championship in college. Obviously Thomas came in on a higher level, but I think at this point they're certainly on the same level. I mean, Brunson is a better scorer and all of that, but I mean, I think when I think of sort of a historical comparison, not necessarily in terms of style of play, but just sort of like where I would rank them, how I would see them, I think Isaiah Thomas would be similar. Allen Iverson, he's not quite the scorer that Allen Iverson is, but he's a better winner. I mean, he's a better player to sacrifice a little bit to make everybody else better. And that's something that he's got to be credited for as well. So, I mean, he's tough to place because, like you say, he's had an unusual path. He's not what we think of as an all-time great. But you can't look at the resume and what he's done. You've got to put him up there, certainly in the top 100 all time, assuming he finishes out his career the way he started it so far. That's where he's going to wind up. I mean, like I say, I think I'd rank him right around where you'd have Isaiah Thomas.
So if I could I put a name out there for you, and I want you to think of this guy pre his co-star showing up. I get like early season Dwayne or early career Dwayne Wade a little bit from him. Like the 06 title, I felt like is probably one of the best corollaries in terms of dominance with a guard that just sort of took over those series. And I know that there was I think one season where D Wade went like 30 a game, but otherwise pretty similar in like the high to mid 20s in terms of scoring average. Like, what do you think about early pre-LeBron Dwayne Wade as a comp?
Yeah, but I mean, I think Brunson has a better supporting cast than what Dwayne Wade had there. Dwayne Wade had to do so much more and was less involved with making everybody better, but also didn't need as much help. I think Brunson needs a lot of help. I mean, frankly, and that's not a knock on him, because if you get the help and you can win with that, then that's what you're looking for in a player. But I think Wade is sort of a much better individual player than Brunson is. But I think Brunson is probably the better team player, and Wade learned that as he went on, played with LeBron and all that. But I think at that point, I just think that Brunson's ability to lift everybody else up and to make other players better too, I think that you'd have to give him an advantage there too.
How do you think we've reevaluated, like, just in entirety? It's kind of funny. We do this every year when an NBA champion comes about, but obviously the Jalen Brunson conversation that you were just having, but the Karl Anthony Towns part of it too. I feel like his kind of rebirth in New York has been a little bit under the radar. It seemed like he's gotten a little bit more of the fanfare, especially in the early run of the NBA Finals and in the postseason so far. But where do we reevaluate him now, just in terms of kind of where his placement is amongst maybe some of those next tier of the NBA, I guess, not old time, but just at least in this current run of good players, or where he stands amongst kind of the best of the current generation?
It's very weird because you can look at Karl Anthony Towns just this season and see sort of a microcosm of his whole career, because much of this season was spent in a battle between Mike Brown and Karl Anthony Towns. If you go back and look, in January and February, it was what's wrong with Karl Anthony Towns, or is Mike Brown misusing him by trying to get him to play more defense and be a better rebounder and not worry about scoring? And so there was all this headbutting. That was pretty much the whole season for the Knicks. And it wasn't until the playoffs started that Mike Brown, we go back to Mike Brown as a head coach and how you evaluated him. This was credit to him, because he's the one who made this adjustment and basically said, I'm going to stop trying to make you be something. I've been doing this all year. It's not working. I'm going to stop making you be something you're not. They're down 2-1 against Atlanta in that first round, and he kind of unleashes Karl-Anthony Towns. Just go play the way you want to play, and don't worry about all the defensive rebounding. That'll happen. And that really was the key, and that really set everything off. So now I'm just wondering what happens with Karl-Anthony Towns from here. Does he come back in New York next year and play the way he did in the playoffs, or are the Knicks going to try to make him into shot blocking and rebounding machine? Is that what they want from him, or do they want to go back to that really fun offense that they developed in the playoffs? I'm curious to see that, and that's going to be part of sort of how you judge Karl-Anthony Towns when all this is over, is what does he do from here? Certainly the fact that he was able to lead it, you can never take that away from him. That's going to be part of his legacy. But I'd be really excited about, kind of what they can do from here, having seen how everything can work together defensively, offensively, because we really haven't seen that from him throughout his career. And we didn't even see it for most of this year until we got to the playoffs.
Sean, we started talking in this conversation about the kind of parity in the league over the last almost decade at this point of different champions and things like that. I think at various points throughout this run, whether it was with the Bucks and Giannis, whether it was Denver and Jokic, whether it's Boston with Tatum and Brown, Oklahoma City obviously with Shea and Chet, it seems like we kept having this conversation of, ooh, is this the start of a next dynasty? Is this the start of a next dynasty? Is there any of those teams that you think can be kind of the one to break up this stretch and get their second one within a few years here?
It's a good question. I mean, I would have thought it was going to be Oklahoma City this year, just because, like I said, the reason that those teams haven't been able to repeat has been financial. The Celtics had to get rid of Drew Holiday and Porzingis, and because they just couldn't, you can't keep those guys. Denver had to get rid of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was a very important role player for them, and they never really kind of recovered from. They never really replaced that. And you can go right through. Milwaukee had to make changes, and it just goes on and on. But Oklahoma City didn't have to make financial changes, so that's why you look at them and say, they were probably the best opportunity there for them to get back and win again. And I do think they will be back and probably win another one here. But yeah, I mean, I think the Spurs are in pretty good shape. They're going to have to start paying guys, and that's going to get tough. But for now, the Spurs are in pretty good shape. They could be back next year. It'll be tough on the Knicks. They're right up against the aprons, and they're going to have to give out raises. They got to bring back Mitchell Robinson, who's a free agent. That's going to be tricky for them. So they're going to have some decisions to make. But yeah, it's really the financial thing makes it really, really difficult to keep a team together and run it back. But I think if anybody's going to do it, I'd say it's probably Oklahoma City, just because of where they are financially and the number of draft picks they have and other assets.
So speaking of making moves, whether for financial reasons or just having to retool, more likely to get traded this offseason, Giannis or Jaylen Brown?
Well, they could get traded for each other. I mean, I honestly, I think the only way the Celtics, as I understand it, the only way the Celtics are going to trade Jaylen Brown is in a Giannis package. If that doesn't happen, I don't think they trade him. I think that's the only way that they do that. They want to bring in Giannis because they've got a lot of holes on that roster, and they feel like Giannis, he's a not only is he Giannis and the scorer and all those things, but he's also a defensive presence, the 7-footer who can, basically play center for you. He's also a ball handler, basically play point guard for you. So he's Giannis, but then he can fill these other roles that they don't really have right now, at least not to the extent that they want. So the Celtics could trade Jaylen Brown for Giannis. I think that's the only way they would trade Jaylen Brown. I think Giannis is getting traded no matter what. So the answer to your question is Giannis, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them involved in the same trade.
Okay, let's talk about Giannis here for a second, because obviously he's 31 years old. He's been in the league for 13 years at this point, I think, and has had, especially this past year, got banged up, didn't play even half the season. In your mind, what is what should be the going rate for Giannis at his age with maybe some of these injuries that we don't love the look of?
The going rate should be a top young player, a guy who's 25 or less, maybe a couple of other pieces. And certainly you've got to match the salary. So you want to have a veteran guy with a short contract that you can kind of get rid of and clear some space off your books. And I'd say at least three draft picks and maybe a swap. And, so you wind up with 3-4 draft picks, but that's probably the going rate. I know he's 31, and there are some concerns. If you talk to people around the league, there's not that much concern about health. I think that a lot of people looked at this past year as him butting heads with the organization and not playing, and them not playing him at the end when he probably could have. So there's less held against him for that. But that's the going rate. The problem is there's nobody out there to give that to the Miami Heat. So how do they to the Milwaukee Bucks? So how do they wind up generating that? That's the real problem. The Heat can come pretty close, but Kel'el Ware is not a great player. Tyler Hero, does anybody really want him? They could do the picks, and they've got a couple young guys they can throw in, but it's still an underwhelming package. But they're probably best positioned to give them that sort of full deal that they're looking for.
Ironically, the only team in the league that can probably give them that is the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah. Right, and they have no interest. They're not doing a Giannis trade. Look, Minnesota can do a little bit, but they don't have the picks, and they don't really have the veteran that they can ship out. I'm trying to think of who else. Is
there a version of a three-team deal here where you get the players from one side and the picks from another?
Well, that's that. So if the Celtics wind up doing a deal where they send out Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown will not wind up in Milwaukee. He'll wind up somewhere else, or Milwaukee will trade him. They'll trade him on. So that's how that's going to wind up going if that happens. That there'll be a third team involved where you can get the young player from one side and then the picks from another side, and that's sort of how that's likely to go. But that also makes things a little more complicated. Certainly teams have done plenty of 3-team deals, but it does make things a little more complicated. We're not at the draft yet. Teams aren't sure how things are going to play out for free agency. So there's still some question about what the logistics of this are going to be. But yeah, if the Celtics make that trade, Jaylen Brown probably winds up in Atlanta or somewhere like that in order to facilitate a deal.
So, Sean, this is the last one from me, but after 53 years, the Knicks get their championship. Who are they passing the torch to for the next, I guess, snake-bitten franchise that everyone's going to either root for or root against?
Oh, man, that's a good one. How about the Orlando Magic? I feel so bad for them. I'd like to see the Orlando Magic. They had high hopes this year. They've got some talent. They might make some moves. Probably not this year, but man, they've got a great front office. They've sort of done everything right, but man, they just can't get over the hump. So that's who I'd like to see. I don't know if that's what'll happen, but.
Sorry, I had to hit you with the theme song there.
Fine. I love it. I love it.
We have a strange obsession in this office with the Orlando Magic theme song. So when you said Orlando Magic, we all got very excited.
It's a rocker. It's definitely a rocker. You gotta be ready for it.
The Magic were not on my table of teams that I thought you were going to say there. Of any, I thought it might be the Suns. That was the only one that I'd kind of thought of.
Yeah, but they're not going anywhere. The Hornets I could see maybe going somewhere. The Hornets have pretty good young players. They got 2 picks in this draft. They could possibly be there. The Bulls are so far away, and teams that are sort of close are so close that they're not going to be able to. You'd almost rather be at the bottom right now, trying to, like Utah. I think is maybe in a pretty good position to build quickly, but like a team that's close like Minnesota, they probably they probably reached their ceiling. Like that's as far as they're going to get. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say. Like I'd almost go. Certainly, I'd go in the Eastern Conference. I'd say Orlando, Charlotte. Those would probably be the ones I think that have a chance to make a move in the next 4 years or so.
Sean Deveney, heavy.com. Sean, appreciate the time. Great stuff. We always enjoy talking to you, and we will catch up again soon.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean.
That is Sean Deveney from heavy.com, their NBA insider. Great stuff there.
That is some interesting stuff there at the end.
I'm just so glad we got some Orlando Magic love.
I know.
There. Orlando.
Imagine if the Magic win the championship next year. I won't come in for a week. I'm going right to 72nd and Dodge.
All right, let's take a quick break here. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. We'll be right back. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
We used to drive, he's a left-hander, so we knew that he had a chance to pitch. We used to beg him to bat left-handed, but he was always batting right-handed. And if you know Cal, he does everything else right-handed but pitch. So it's kind of odd. We would drive to Omaha from the time he was 9, once a week in the summer to go to UVA. And Bill Olson was his mentor. And we did that for, until he graduated high school. And we would call Bill and tell him how he did every night and come back to UVA and work with Bill for an hour. And Cal hit the weights, and his pitching coach at Iowa Western went to Western Kentucky with him. And him and his pitching coach are really tight. Now his pitching coach, Max, is a unique guy. He used to be a pro pitching coach for the Mariners. So he's learned a lot. And I just watch. I don't say anything anymore. So.
Yeah, so I was born in Grand Island, Nebraska, and then moved to Papillion, and that's where I graduated high school, Papillion La Vista. My mother still lives in Omaha. Lots of relatives in the surrounding area, so I'm as Nebraskan as you can come.
How many games have you watched here at Memorial Stadium?
Wow, what a great question. It's north of 20. We're probably pushing 30 or 40, definitely.
What does this moment mean to you, standing on the field at Memorial and knowing that you'll be coaching here?
Yeah, it's special. I'm taking this every single second to just try to stay present, because there's so many memories. There's so many emotional memories here and attachments. And so, I helped build this field, and it got knocked down on Wednesday because of the storm. And we were out here bright and early in the morning making it perfect for Nebraska. So the attention to detail was at a higher level than I normally bring, but it's special to bring banana ball to Nebraska.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Mail Medical. That's awesome. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. Reminding you, give our friends over at Next Gen a call, 402-614-9700. If you tell them that Hurrdat Sports Live sent you, you'll get a free vitamin shot with your first order, which is a great value, especially if you're, I don't know, down to the College World Series this week, maybe indulging in some beverages, and I need a little pick-me-up, a little recovery. They can help you out there.
I needed it yesterday.
Yeah, you did. They also have the hydration IV bags as well. Whatever you need.
I needed that.
To get yourself back on track, they've got you covered, whether it's in the short term, long term. Testosterone therapy for both men and women is their bread and butter, but they do so much more than that. Give them a call, 402-614-9700. Yeah, how you feeling today? You doing all right?
Feel good.
Doing okay?
I have a couple of different things I would like to ask you about, but we only have 21 minutes and Shane time left. So
what do you mean?
We have as much time as we want.
So my question for you is, do you want to touch on Sean saying that Minnesota's reached their ceiling? Do you want to reach on Sean and the snake-bitten franchise? Who's next? Do you want to talk about Husker? I don't even know who in chat. Husker P saying that the Savannah Bananas is a sad thing to have at Memorial Stadium. Or we can go fourth, and you could just roulette it and let me know whatever you want to talk about.
So there's a couple things that I think are interesting. I don't know if the Timberwolves have reached their ceiling. I think they probably need to make a move.
Yeah.
Which I guess means I think they've reached their ceiling. If I think
this
they need
version, right?
Yes, if you run back this exact same roster, I think you are basically Eastern Conference Finals is sort of where you're at, because you've got
West. Are they in the West?
Eastern.
They're in the East.
Yeah.
Am I
Or no,
dumb?
Western. Sorry, Western. Yeah, you're right. Western. Sorry. Western Conference Finals is
I know I'm not the biggest NBA guy.
No, I don't even know where I'm.
I don't even know what we're doing.
I don't even recognize what we're doing. Yeah. Western Conference Finals is probably your ceiling, because you've got, obviously, the Spurs are very young and very good. You've got the Thunder very young and very good.
You're not better than the Thunder, and you don't match up well with the Spurs.
Who are you catching?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
That's, if you put it in that terms, I agree.
Who are you catching?
Yes.
Who are you passing in the West without catastrophic injury, knock on wood, to anyone involved? Like, who are you catching that you get to pass those two teams? So in that sense, I agree. They've probably reached their ceiling. In the sense of, like, there's a version of this team with Anthony Edwards as its best player that has a higher ceiling, but they're going to have to make some moves, right? I'm not a Rudy Gobert fan. I think he's had moments where he can be really, really effective. Obviously, he's a great interior defender, but if you've got him on the floor, the rest of your offensive pieces have to be so dynamic as for him not to be a liability. And weirdly enough, I think you actually need really good perimeter defensive pieces, because he doesn't switch well. Like, if he gets put out there on an island, he's in trouble, which is true of a lot of big guys, but not all of them, right?
Yep.
So I do think that's why, like, a Giannis is tempting to them, because if you can move Gobert in that package, and obviously, then all of a sudden you've got a guy in Giannis that you can switch all you want. He's fine on the perimeter and he's fine on the inside. So there's some things there that you can work around, but I don't love Rudy Gobert in the sense of, I think he gets matchup hunted too much in the playoffs when you have to play them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And you can just say, oh, this is how we get isolated on Rudy on the perimeter. And he gets to a point where it's hard to play him, but he's too big of a part of the team to not be able to play him. It's just a really weird dynamic with Rudy Gobert. And it was the same thing in Utah, to be fair.
Yeah.
It was the exact same dynamic in Utah. So I look at that.
So my question on that then is, how much, and maybe this is more than Minnesota, but we'll use Minnesota as like the reference to like frame the question from. You've seen the Knicks win a championship. The Spurs beat the Thunder in 7 to get to the finals. The Thunder are probably still the favorite, and I think they are the odds favorite right now for next season's title.
I would guess it's Thunder and Celtics are probably 1-2. I think the Knicks are third, which I'll be honest, I think I'm not trying to be disrespectful about the championship. I think is a little high. I don't Like this felt like, hey, this is our run.
Yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
Like
hot hand, sometimes you can't, can't argue that.
And I think people kind of understood because it's an older roster.
They also, again, I don't want to take away anything from what the Knicks did, but they did not play the Celtics. They had to play, they got the chance to play the Sixers, and they handled the Sixers. And then they also played a Cavs team that was nowhere near their competitive level, but the Cavs obviously, calved it up in that series. So,
and I just think you knew when you put the team together, like, hey, this is a limited edition, limited championship window. We got a couple years here. Let's give it a go. And so, like, I don't know that I look at them and say, hey, like in the next 2 to 3 years, I expect another one.
Cat's the oldest guy on the roster, and he's 30.
I understand that, but again, like you're gonna have to.
They got one more left in them. It's got to be 3 years later though, because you got to hold true with like the 70-73 team. So we got to find out.
2 years, they're certainly not winning a title.
Who's going to be Earl the Pearl? Who's going to take that spot?
It's probably you.
Why the hell not?
You're the same height.
I'll get just as many minutes in the finals as Tyler collected.
That was a joke.
That's right. So my question was about the Timberwolves themselves, though, is how do you, if you recognize that you have reached your ceiling with this version of the team, is your goal to build the best version of the team that you see? You're like, hey, we've got Ant. We're going to build around him. What he needs to win? Or do you look at who's in front of you and say, what do we do to beat them?
So I don't think Does
that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I don't think it's wise to and this is going to sound like I'm contradicting myself. You do have to catch a couple teams. I don't think it's wise to specifically build to just beat those teams, especially if it's not the thing that makes you better overall. Because we saw it in the East this year, right? You never know when injuries are going to happen. You never know when fluky things are going to happen, where you're going to have a path all of a sudden to a title, and you're just like, oh, that just opened up out of nowhere, right? So that's what happened with like the 22 Warriors. Like that was a weird team.
Yes.
Super weird team. Not nearly as good as the previous iteration.
But again, the path opened for them.
But yeah,
you could even go to the Bucks title. The Bucks title a couple of years ago.
The Bucks title opened up.
How many times you get to play a play-in team all the way to the title?
The Knicks are a great example this year, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to deal with Indiana again. You have a Celtics team that didn't have Jason Tatum for most of the year, and that's kind of they're in a weird transition year. You've got a Sixers team that is falling apart at the seams, and the corpse of Joel Embiid is running up and down the floor.
There's no reason to say that. That's mean.
I mean, he zombie runs a little bit.
He's a little weird. He's a little weird. But they beat the teams in front of him.
They did. Listen, it still counts as
you can't discredit the run, but in terms of the argument that we're making, like it's not the Knicks did not change who they were to like beat the teams that they probably needed to beat to actually
that you would have thought they needed to beat.
For your argument, they just
like 370 days when Tyree still had a full leg and all that other stuff. Like this Knicks run looks much different.
Yeah. Well, remember my text as soon as he didn't have a full leg?
Yes. You said the Knicks will win next year, so credit to you.
Yeah. I said they had to.
But it's because you were looking at Jason Tatum doesn't have a leg and Tyree doesn't have a leg. And so that's kind of my point with you have to kind of be aware of the teams around and ahead of you. But this is the problem that the Phoenix Suns ran into with the 7 seconds or less Suns. They went to get Shaq because they needed to defend bigs. But in getting Shaq, they sort of ruined the entire dynamic of what the team, like the identity of what the team was, right? So you can make choices to be like, hey, I probably need a wing defender here because I got to deal with this guy or whatever, but it cannot compromise who you are as a team. So it's a little bit of both. But if you're sitting here and you're the Timberwolves and you go, okay, I've got to deal with getting through the West. I think you're better off just saying, hey, what's the best version of this team I can put out there? Because then you just keep giving yourself shots, right? They've been to 3 straight Western Conference Finals, I think. Like they've had opportunities to knock down the door and haven't been able to quite get there. But if you keep giving yourselves opportunities and keep adjusting sort of around the perimeter, like you're going to keep Anthony Edwards at the center of it. And then I think basically everybody else on that team is negotiable to me.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. That's why I framed it as you have Anthony Edwards. And it turns into does the Giannis conversation like grow more and more apparent? And I don't think that they're a front runner necessarily in that entire, debate. But if that's where it's like, listen, whatever it takes to build around our best player, we're going to make the best version of, or is it we just got to find these little nooks and crannies and find our different role players to be able to find, the right person that can defend this guy in the Western Conference, and that then we can, combat this and we can counter that and that sort of argument.
Is that the same or different from a building for the future as opposed to a win now, especially with 8 different champions in 8 years, like trading for Giannis and just saying, look, we just want to get one championship, whatever happens after that happens, like trade away all your young assets for that, win one, and then just go on your merry way? Or do you kind of what you were saying, build around Ant and just like, building up for the future and like, we're going to maybe try to turn this into a dynasty or get one later on down the line?
Well, as Heath mentions too, Ant's contract is up next year. So there's no guarantee that it is like an Ant future as well, which we did meet Heath at the OPV.
I don't know that that's correct. I thought he signed it. I thought he signed an extension, but let me look real quick.
The Power of Googling by Ravi Lulla.
He runs through 28-29, so he's got a couple years left on that one. But no, the issue with like the Timberwolves, for example, is I think you look at it and I kind of look. You just want to give yourself as many bites at the apple as possible, right? So you want to stay as highly competitive as possible, especially when you this only works if you've got a guy like Ant. Right. If you've got a guy that is a transcendent player in this league, the Mavericks did this in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Right. The 2011 team wasn't the best version of that team. But it's the one that ended up winning the title.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, one of the best titles of all time because of the teams that they ran through. They swept a back-to-back champion Lakers. They beat the Wade, LeBron, Heat, and I think the other two teams they beat also had. I think they beat a really good Grizzlies team. Yeah. I think every team they beat had at least 50 wins, which is an unbelievable run in the NBA playoffs. And so you look at that team. Like Jason Kidd wasn't an original part of that team. Jason Terry had been there for a while, but they just kept giving themselves a shot. They'd revamp a little bit, and then they would like bring in a Tyson Chandler to help out with defense, and then they would. Like Vince Carter was there for a minute and then he wasn't. They kept just kind of tweaking around Dirk Nowitzki to give themselves opportunities. That's what I think Minnesota should do. And like you have to be in a win now mode because Anthony.
It was Oklahoma City. They beat Portland.
Oh yeah, they beat that really.
That was LaMarcus Aldridge and Young Dame.
Yeah, that was a really good Portland team.
Swept the Lakers in the next series, and then 4-1 Oklahoma City.
And that was Harden, Westbrook, Durant the year before they go to the finals.
Went to a finals the following year. Yes.
So again, super young team, but God, that's a talented team, right? So an unbelievable run for them there. But my point is, you look at this and you go, okay, if I've got an Anthony Edwards, if I've got one of those guys, then I just have to keep giving. Now it can go terribly, terribly wrong, and this is why we're talking about Giannis with the Bucks getting traded because they kept trying to give themselves bites at the apple after they won the title. And they just pooped that thing right down their leg. The idea that they're like, no, we should get rid of Drew Holiday. Get rid of anybody else besides Drew Holiday. Same thing with the Celtics. Get rid of anybody besides Drew Holiday. I don't care who you have to get rid of that isn't Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Don't get rid of Drew Holiday basically ever. That dude's a winner. He's a great basketball player. I don't care what the stats say, which he's had good stats throughout his career. That's not my point. But like his impact on winning far outweighs his statistical output.
Yeah.
Like that dude is a great basketball player that if I'm the Spurs, I try and find a way to get Drew Holiday tomorrow. Like if I'm just like, hey, De'Aaron Fox, Drew Holiday, straight up, we cool?
Drew Holiday's a winner.
Like I mean,
I'll
toss in a first rounder if you like. I'll do first rounder and De'Aaron Fox, Drew Holiday. Like just give me that dude.
I lied about Portland. That team had Marcus Camby and Wesley, like a good Wesley Matthews, Andre Miller, and end of career but still pretty good Brandon Roy.
Oh, the Portland team?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
must have been a 5-4 then, right?
Gerald Wallace was on that team.
Ooh.
Like this is a lot of like names of players who later on in their careers are like, man, that's a pretty good player.
Yeah. These are just guys naming dudes at this point.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Greg Oden was on this team.
Yeah, he didn't play much.
He didn't play
at all.
But he was on the team.
Ohio State legend.
Yes.
But yeah, I think Anthony Edwards, and with this current roster, if they just run it back, yeah, I do think they've reached their ceiling. But in terms of having Anthony Edwards as your superstar, I mean, that's a guy you can win a title with.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the sentiment and thought, because just off of first blush when he said that, I had like a
visceral reaction.
Yeah, I was almost like, oh, I don't know if that's true. But then when you do calculate it in the way of what they've been up to, what the moves that they had done, especially when you move Karl Anthony Towns, you bring in Gobert, you do all that sort of stuff, and the kind of shifting and changes that they had done, they have reached their capacity, at least in their conference right now. Because like you said, as many bites the apple as you can get, it's the same argument in the, I hate doing this cross comparison because changing and adjusting your roster in the NBA is much different than doing it in the NFL. But it's the same argument with your 49ers over multiple different generations, right? Like the Harbaugh teams, however many times it takes you to get past the NFC Championship game, you're still getting the NFC Championship game. And then when you're Shanahan and you're biting at the apple at different Super Bowls, different NFC Championship games, once again, like whatever it takes to keep getting there, you're going to take that risk and you're going to say, we will keep pushing our roster limits this way. We're going to keep pushing salary cap benefits this way, because if we don't, we know that we will go down a step. And the only way to get to a Super Bowl or get to a championship is to keep getting to that level where we have been. So you push the envelope continually from there. So the Timberwolves in that argument have not been to that point, at least this past season. So if you are regressing, you have to make a change.
Yeah, and I don't know that they're regressing yet, but I do think you look up and you go, we're going to need some help.
Yeah.
You know, and I honestly, this is what the Knicks did too. Like when they brought Brunson in, you know, this is his 4th year in New York, right? For Brunson. So he came in 2022. They have had opportunities. They've been good. They've gotten better. And then they kept, you know, they go from Julius Randle to Cat, and they keep tweaking, and they famously trade away DiVincenzo in that group. They brought in Mikal Bridges for an ungodly amount of draft picks, but you know, here
bleep them picks.
Yeah, we're out here, right? So
seemed to work.
You know what I mean? And so you keep giving you just kind of tweak around.
Traded away Cam Reddish for Josh Hart, just like almost straight up.
You went out and got OG Anunoby when Toronto was done with him, like
for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly.
Yeah, that's a good trade. That worked out for you. But to be fair, like OG Anunoby at the time, like you understood why Toronto was kind of meh on him. You're kind of like, I don't really know what we're getting here out of OG. And he's a better fit in what New York needed him to do than he was in Toronto. But you just kind of keep tweaking sort of around the periphery because they believed basically immediately. They're like, oh, we think Jalen Brunson can be that guy even before everybody else did. And I'll be honest, I don't think when they got him, they thought that he was that guy either. But I think they pretty quickly realized, oh, he's a dude. Let's give.
Nobody knew he was going to. He didn't know he was going to do that.
He was averaging 16 points a game for Dallas. And then he became one of the best players in the league basically over the course of 2 years. That's not a thing that, especially that was 5 years into his career.
Yeah.
Usually, especially with a guy that spent any time in college, year 3, you know what he is by year 3. Like that's kind of the rule for NBA is by year 3, we know what a guy is unless he came in super young. And even then, most of the time, you know, and you generally don't have these later career huge jumps to go from, I mean, he finished top 5, 6th man of the year for Dallas. And then all of a sudden he's top 5 in the MVP voting. Like that's a very different thing that we're talking about here over the course of a couple of years in his mid to late 20s. That's not a thing that generally happens. So
no, that never happens. You go get Jordan Clarkson for offense because your second team offense sucks. Jose Alvarado, you trade for midseason because you just need another ball handling guard that can kind of create and is looking to pass, like, and can play defense. Like they made all of these moves and it turned out to be just the perfect storm. Like there's only one person on that team that was drafted by the Knicks, and it's Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
GOAT.
And I think that's very common in, like, there's only a couple teams that you can look at and say, hey, we don't have to constantly be searching for that perfect storm in order to get a title, right? I think it's Oklahoma City, and I think it's San Antonio in terms of just, hey, our roster is constructed in a way. Maybe Boston. You know, I'd throw them in there.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands right now, and of course, if they want to make a move for it, like,
yes, right. Like they're a team that you look at and you're like, yeah.
I want it on the record. I'm anti-Giannis in Boston.
I think it's I don't know, man. I think it's
I don't think he would like it.
I'm never for sacrificing, and this is almost like, and I know we've talked about this before because this is like a Warriors like trying to get Kevin Love and trading Clay, like that whole narrative. I'm never for, unless you have like contention on your team, and you know that
Jaylen Brown is like wanting out,
which I mean is a possibility. He
had some weird comments with the Tatum stuff. Like
he's always had weird comments. He's maybe that's just the dude that he is and everything. But
he thinks he's the man.
If you have a duo that has won and can accept that both parties could be, their own roles and whatnot, there's no reason to break them up just because you can visibly see, well, we could get one better, because then I think you just ruin an entire narrative of it, and you have the potential to upset the entire apple cart rather than just kind of maintaining with what you have. That's been my philosophy, especially when it comes to just in that term of basketball. And I've always felt that way, especially when it was with the Warriors and every single rumor mill of Kevin Love trade at the time.
Who sacrifices more, Tatum or Giannis in that situation?
Oh, Tatum, 100%.
Yeah, I think so.
A guy comes in and is traded for what is essentially an all NBA, probably second tier superstar, and you are now second fiddle. 100% you are second fiddle.
I mean, Giannis,
and you're lucky that you weren't traded, to be fair.
Giannis is a multiple-time MVP. That's a guy where you just sit there, you go, okay, this is his team now, right? Which is kind of funny because I think, we talked about the Warriors a little bit here. I think that's what Kevin Durant thought was going to happen.
Yes.
When he went to Golden State, and everybody's like, no, this is Steph's team, knock it off.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dwayne Wade in Miami. It's Wade County, but LeBron gets there and it's like, oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
I know it's Wade County, but
Wade was the last one to know.
Yeah,
he was the last one. That's why they lost that first year, because they couldn't figure out the dynamics there. Dwayne Wade was the last one to know that he wasn't better than LeBron.
Not Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh was like, hey, man.
Dude, Bosh got there after being
this is incredible.
Dude, Bosh was a dog in Toronto, and he got there and he goes, whatever you need.
Yep.
14 points a game. I got you.
I
need to be a 3-point shooter now. Done.
Perfect. You need me to not yell at Mario Chalmers? It's gonna be tough, but I think I can do it.
He's like, yeah, LeBron's like, my role is to yell at the Mario Chalmers.
Said, Udonis Haslam, your knees still work? All right. Give us 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's no, Heath, I don't want to talk about what it's going to take for the Warriors to return to glory. I don't want to do that. That sounds not fun to me. And Hot Danger, Brunson's comp is not Harden because he's the exact opposite of Harden. When it comes to crunch time, Harden looks like I do. Like you can put me on a basketball court and win as many championships as James Harden has. Brunson is the exact opposite of that. That's why I brought up the Dwayne Wade comp, not because of stylistically or anything like that, but just the ability to, hey, time to take over. It's go time.
Yeah.
Let's do this thing.
DB couldn't even get mad at Brunson on Saturday because he wasn't flopping. He was just getting buckets.
I can always be mad.
Hey, Shane, for our last however long the show is going to go, how happy are you in the Carolina Hurricanes?
I don't really particularly care for either team, but I did pick Carolina as the champion. I don't know if you remember that or not when Damon and I were going through that. And I did pick Carolina to win. It was actually a pretty good series, except for last night was kind of so-so.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that the series ended in that little bit of it wasn't a dud of a game, but it was just
but compared to you had
you had 3 goals in 39 seconds, you had comebacks, and then it was just you had
the 4-0 go to 4-4, and there's double overtime. You had blowing it was it wasn't the same.
But as somebody that doesn't like the Golden Knights, sorry TK. I was happy that it ended last night in Vegas.
Okay. I like that.
He says, Rico, do you get concerned about Brunson's elbow giving out from all the push-offs?
No, I do. I am concerned about every shooter's ankle around Wemby, though.
Guys, we just started talking hockey. You can't go back to NBA.
Don't worry about it.
Hey, Shane, this is barely hockey talk, so this is just to give you a bone. But I realized halfway through yesterday that I wanted Carolina to win because now I can root for North Carolina to win in baseball, which means the Panthers
turn in the fall.
Year. If the Knicks can win the title, the Panthers could win the Super Bowl.
Everything's coming up Carolina.
We are so close to me putting in the dumbest parlay of my life every year, my annual tradition of crossing the border and putting $100 on a Nebraska college football playoff bid, parlayed with a Super Bowl champion, Carolina Panthers.
You mean crossing the border from 72nd Street and go to Warhorse?
Yeah, that's what I do every time.
Absolutely.
My new border.
Just because I don't know, what town are they in?
Carolina? Charlotte. Yeah,
So, and the Hornets. Throw the Hornets in there, too.
I will not give the Hornets. The Hornets have the furthest chance of that happening.
Listen,
there's no way.
Con Knippel, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Let's do this.
What if the Hornets trade for Giannis?
We should get Ben McLaughlin on when that happens directly to ask.
As soon as it's final, I don't care if we don't have a show. We're going live. We're calling up Ben.
We're live with Ben McLaughlin. When he comes on, we will directly talk to him.
We are live with the only Charlotte fan any of you have ever met.
Ryan Kalkbrenner's wife.
She's a fan of Ryan, not the Hornets. I think that's no. I will say,
do you think they have more Creighton gear or Hornet gear right now?
Definitely Creighton gear.
You think so?
Well, he was there for 5 years.
You probably put some of that away, don't you?
Well, still have it.
Do you know how much those NBA teams give you?
Yeah, the amount of free stuff you get from an NBA team.
That's true. I wonder, I bet Ryan, I don't know, you get a lot of free stuff in college too, and he was there for 5 years.
But all of the alternates that they have, and they're like, hey, we need you to wear this.
Yeah, he doesn't keep the jerseys in his closet.
The shirts and the pants and everything that they give you that are included in that.
Amazing Daniel says, if we come to a game, we can stay with him.
Let's go.
Hey, one last thing on hockey.
I actually have several people I know in North Carolina.
I do too.
I think the Stanley, I think the NHL has the best post-game championship celebration.
Oh, shaking hands,
carrying the cup around.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
I mean,
well done.
Stanley Wemby didn't shake hands.
Me against a glass for a whole series. Appreciate that.
I will say the Stanley Cup by far has the best trophy.
Hands down.
In all of sports.
I'm partial to the Nebraska State High School trophy.
We need more grand cups. Instead of
some
just
of the there's soccer, there's boys soccer rivalries in the state that have cups.
Yeah. I think it's
Lincoln Southwest and who plays for
really
the Nebraska Cup.
They've got
no. I'm asking you, who do you think plays?
Oh, and who? I thought you were
no. That was a question.
Oh, okay.
Would you think it was an owl?
He thought who was a school.
I thought you were shortening Wahoo.
No,
I thought the Who's. They call Virginia Howard the Who's,
brother. And who question?
I was like, why?
Now I know why DB gets mad at you.
I was like, why is Lincoln Southwest playing Wahoo?
No, who? Who do you think that they?
I would have to guess Lincoln Southeast.
No.
Okay. Well,
that's it.
That's why I only. I only have one guess.
Kearney.
Oh, Kearney.
This guy.
Why would you think he would bring it up?
I don't know.
It's like he guessed one school and he was like, I don't know.
Hey, by the way, read Daniel's comment again.
Read Dan. If you come to a game, you can't stay with me. What the hell, man?
I can't read.
I can't read. This has been a horrific final 6 minutes of this show for you.
Dominic is right, though. The starter jackets in the 90s for the Hornets were fire.
Lincoln Christian plays for the Sword, right?
In football?
Yeah.
Against the Who's?
No, stop saying
that.
No.
I don't remember who they play against.
You're Horton ain't
Lutheran, right?
I don't know. I don't know for sure.
He's not Lincoln pilled. He's only Central and Western Nebraska pilled.
There is.
I've got Omaha knowledge now, and I've got everything else.
Yeah,
it's
Lincoln's just a black hole.
There's a blind spot for him from Ashland.
Yep.
Until you get to Grand Island's a little before Kearney, right?
No, I could get Seward. I can get you Seward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah. The only thing I know, you've never heard of the Duke J rivalry between York and Seward?
The only thing I know about Seward is Concordia University. That's all I know about Seward.
Concordia rocks.
We played some Concordia. They got a good gym over there.
They have
a great gym.
Got a good bowl, and you can stand on the outside.
Great gym.
Listen,
great facility.
People at Seward love going to Bulldog games.
Great indoor track.
Yeah, they do. They have
also underrated football facility too.
Yes.
One of my favorite in the NAIA.
Them and Doane have just elite facilities.
Yeah, I'd rather be in Seward than Crete, though. No disrespect.
Doane's indoor track is aggressively orange.
Yeah, all their stuff's aggressively orange. It's like our chairs over here. They're just
aggressively orange, much like the Knicks.
And we've come full circle.
There we go. Bang.
Aggressively orange with Rico. That's the show for today. Appreciate our guests and Austin. Austin will be here all week. DB is at West Side Camp.
Who do you have today?
What's that?
Who do you have today for World Series?
Ooh. What are my games today? We've got
Texas, Bama, elimination.
Let's get rid of Texas. I don't need Texas in my state anymore. Which I don't feel great saying. I don't feel great about the Roll Tide. I don't it doesn't feel right. And then I'm going to go Georgia.
I think I'm with you.
Bama, Georgia.
Yep.
All right. Those are the picks.
It's the third Saturday in October.
Just a regular SEC game where they will set things on fire worse than they did in New York after a championship.
100%.
We will be back tomorrow on Hurrdat Sports Live.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.